Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the 41st installment of the Bobby Kudo Show. And here we are. We're asking the age-old question, ladies and gentlemen. Joe, if I asked you, brother, why can't we be friends, man?
Because
the world's such a better place, man, when you're friends, isn't it? Welcome.
you would think.
Well, you're right. That's what I would think. Welcome, everybody. Episode 41 of the Bobby Kudo Show. Of course, why can't we be friends? 1975 by the great band War. You know, they had a couple of great songs. That one, Lowrider. Everybody knows Lowrider, right? I mean, that's a popular jam. But again, that was a great song, man. They were ahead of their time back then. And again, you know, it wasn't a coincidence that they were singing that song in the 70s and dealing with the same issues that we're dealing with today, you know, here in 2020, right? I mean, it's like, what do they say? The more things change, the more they stay the same. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Right, and here we are, guys. Joe Costa, welcome, sir. Episode 41. In all fairness, we Steve and I recorded episode 40, and Joe was slotted to be on that episode, but Joe had some vacation plans already in play, and he had some stuff going on, and of course, you know, obviously family always comes first beyond everything else, and in this case, we missed Joe. So, you know, we spoke, and I said, you know what? It's only fair. It would only be fair to have Joe on the show, episode 41, to, you know what, we can talk a little bit about 40, and then, of course, you know, unless you live under a rock, here we are, 81 straight nights of violence in Portland. 45 people were shot over the weekend. Over the last 48 hours, wrap your head around that, 45 people were shot in New York. Chicago, 30 people were shot, 3 killed. Philadelphia, I don't know, is that a normal night for them, 5 people getting shot in Philly? Is that normal for them?
It might be under.
Right? I think it might be a little under. So let's, you know, hey, Philly, maybe they're a success story over there, but nonetheless, Connecticut, 6 shot and 1 killed in Connecticut. Welcome, everybody. Episode 41. You know, I wish we were starting on a better note and talking about greater things, but unfortunately, here we are, another episode talking about current events, things that are happening around us, things that obviously we have no control over, right? Because the only thing with any control right now, I'd say, is Corona. Would you agree, Joe? I mean, Corona's right? Whatever everybody's doing, it's wrapped around Corona, right?
Yep, that and the politicians.
Yeah.
Everything's controlled by them.
You know, I'm going to be honest with you, Joe. Like, most of the time, this time of the year, right, I'm usually saying to the family, I'm so sick of seeing commercials about the president. Commercials. But I will tell you, in this case, in this cycle of presidential election, I haven't seen any commercials. Everything's been social media. And then, of course, everything has been amplified and is huge. And no more news than, of course, the news of Joe Biden officially announcing Kamala Harris as his vice president. So, I mean, Joe, give you credit, all the credit in the world. Go back and listen to Joe, and he's going to tell you that Kamala Harris was going to be Joe Biden's selection. I actually say it. If you heard it, you hear me say it. Absolutely not. No way. But sure enough, here we are in the middle of August, and we're talking about Kamala Harris being the VP candidate. Again, Joe, we can talk about this for a little bit because there's a lot really around this. And, you know, for me personally, I know the obvious, exactly what you said. And the obvious was that, you know, he was going to pick a black woman, and he was going to, in this case, black, Indian. She's got a couple of different, or Native American. She got a couple of different nationalities. But either way, you were right on target with a black woman, and that's where he needed the help. But I mean, if anybody knows anything, and following politics in any way, shape, and form, because I mean, of course, if you're alive right now, and even if you're not into politics, you have to be paying attention. Because it is so vital. When we go back to the Democratic debates where Kamala Harris shared the stage with Joe, I mean, she literally, I got to be honest with you, like, they actually called her the shining star, and that she was the breaking out star because she literally berated Biden on stage, right? I mean, do you
yeah,
right?
I remember that, yeah.
And she was, not only was she actually, her words were that she believed the accusers, all the accusers, that she stood with them. But on top of that, like literally just called him out as a just blatant faced liar. That granted, and just really just reiterated the fact that you were the vice president and you did, you were number one to the president, and really nothing changed, right? Like here we are still talking about the same problems. But Joe, I'll ask you. I mean, you obviously Kamala Harris. Could you have seen him actually picking another candidate? Could it have been anybody else? I mean, other than her?
No, I didn't think so. Had to have been her. And
Right.
and the reason why is because he needed to get a female at the time because he's being accused. So
Yeah, but does it make it go away though? Because it's a woman. Now, does it make it go away?
It's gonna go away because they're gonna say, "Oh, he picked a woman."
But how can they even? How can
He
you forget
can't- he
that? How
can't
can
be
you
that
put that
way.
aside? I got to be honest with you, Joe. You can accuse me. You know what? You and I can be friends, and we could be coworkers, and we could be all those things. And you can accuse me of a lot of things. You know what? As a supervisor, manager throughout my life, I've been called an asshole a few times. I have been, and that's okay. You can call me an asshole, but I have never ever once, thank Jesus Christ, I have never ever been accused of being a molester or a rapist. You know what I mean? Or just right. So when you make that accusation,
with these people here in politics, that's what it is. It's politics. It's to make their image look better. So he's
at all
being
costs, though,
accused
man. At all costs, at all costs possible, like at all costs.
That's the way it always is. Yeah.
Because you know what, I've always seen it, and Joe, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. I've always seen the debates as it's really two things, right? It's somebody running for the presidency, and then of course it's somebody typically going to be the vice president, right? Because usually it's the best, and then whoever's second best usually gets it, or somebody that was in. So you always know that even though they're on stage, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're running for the number one seat. They could also be looking for that number two seat.
Right.
So you could see all that, but even knowing that, so Kamala Harris, when she was on stage and she was debating, and hats off to her, because I watched it again, and I very tenacious and very strong-minded woman, and she said a couple of very stern things, but again, the accusations were that she accused him of being what we all know, and when you make those accusations, like, we're not friends anymore. Like, I don't know that I could get Joe. If you accuse me of that, brother, I don't know that you and I could work together or be friends. You know what I mean? Like, neither one of those things. So the idea that they could do that, have that, and still work together, okay. I mean, is this just?
They're not going to work together. I could tell you right now, and I'm going to predict it right now. If Biden does happen to become president, give it 6 months to a year, he bows down, and your president will be Kamala Harris. He's not. Let's face it. He is not going to serve his 4 years term. He is not. I mean, there's no way. He's
not even the 4. So you're not even. You're not thinking long term. Maybe 8. You're saying. You're saying he's not even gonna make the 4.
No, because he already said in some of his comments he's looking to pick the next president.
All right.
I mean, his logic, his dementia that's kicking in on him. I mean, for him to say that a few times in comments, saying he's looking to find the next best president, you already know where that mindset's coming from.
So in other words, the ridiculousness. If again, and I hate to keep repeating it, but anybody who's paying attention to what's going on, like, it's almost daily that you've got these excerpts of him on some show saying some ridiculousness in all these shows. And I happen to, I got a little something. I came across it. I thought it was great, and I'm going to play it real quick, Joe. We can kind of go through it, and then we could talk about it after. But I thought it was very well done. I thought the way that they placed it and the way that they did it was really good. Let's give this a listen real quick.
You have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
My Democratic colleagues don't like me saying this. I think the two-party system is good for the South and good for the Negro, good for the black. And other than the fact that they still call me boy, I think they've changed their mind.
They're gonna put you all back in chains.
Not the first sort of mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean, and nice-looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook, man.
It was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputation of 2 United States senators who built their reputation and career on the segregation of race in this country.
Are you going to apologize like Cory Booker has?
Apologize for what? For what? For what?
And so that was just a few clips of the things that are out there, the things that are being said. And I think, honestly, Joe, between you and I, and we could talk about this real quick together, I think the bailout for the Democrats, if in fact he is elected in some way, shape, or form, is going to be that he's losing his mind, right? That he's got an onset of dementia, he's not thinking clearly. All of these things that he's saying are just so just out of left field. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. How do you tell someone like, if you don't vote for me, you're not black? Like, that to me is so extreme. It's so over the top.
Right.
You wonder, and then you hear things like, "Oh, they call me boy." Like, I just can't help but it bothers me to hear him say it because you can see the intent behind it. You know what I mean? He's not saying that just for show. Like that's the way that he feels.
And he is, I'm going to say, I believe he is racist. You see his comments from when he was in Congress.
Yes.
He practically wrote the Criminal Act.
Yes.
And now you hear him saying these ridiculous terms. If you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
Right. Right.
Who, you know what I'm saying? And now he goes and vote, and he has to clean up that image.
And
so what's he do? He goes and gets a black woman.
So
to
why
clean
not
up his image, saying that, see, I'm not racist, but you are.
Right. But and he's not even in the right state of mind. Like, he's not making that decision.
No,
he didn't make that decision. It wasn't him. Like, he didn't sit in a room by himself and come up with the idea and say, hey, you know what? Like, this is what I'm going to do. Like, obviously we've got just an army of people that are making these decisions for him. But, him himself, I think, when you look at a politician, like if we call a politician, right, for what face value with a politician, is typically they're a lawyer, they're very astute with the law, they've been a judge or some way, shape, and form. And again, we all know that we think lawyers and we think, rats. It's always, they get that perception, right? We make these people politicians. Isn't it always the best politician, the biggest rat, the best actor? Isn't that always the one that makes it?
Sleaziest,
right? The sleaziest, the one that can say these things and say them with conviction. And which brings you to another point where, if you follow the Bobby Kudo Show, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, these are the things that I'm sharing with everyone. And I got a quick clip that I'm going to play for us again. This is another Biden clip. This bothered me. And again, and I say it bothers me because when you hear the fluidity of what he's saying and the conviction of what he's saying, you wouldn't know any better. But again, if you follow on the social media, and you would have heard this already, but let's just give this a quick listen.
I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. Went back to law school and, in fact, ended up in the top half of my class. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only needed 123 credits.
Biden now. Did you hear that? Did you hear all that?
Yeah.
Like listen, if somebody's saying that to me, I'm intimidated. I'm like, wow, man, holy shit, right? Like,
yeah,
right? Like, you belong here. Like, you got my vote, man, right? You're smarter than me, right? But wait, hold on a second. Listen to this.
Concedes he did not graduate in the top half of his law school class, that he does not have 3 degrees from college, and that he was not named outstanding political science student in college.
Newsweek says Biden actually went to school on a half scholarship, ended up near the bottom of his class, and won only 1 degree, not 3.
Joe Biden ranked 76th in a class of 85 at the University of Syracuse Law School. I mean, this guy comes off this whole thing as a flyweight.
So there you go. This is not the bashing Biden episode. This, guys, I didn't work very hard to find this information.
Facts.
Like, this is just facts. This is out there. This is what we should all know. If you are voting for the next president of the United States of America, right, especially now at this crucial time, how fragile we are as a nation, right, as a people and as a nation. Can you
run it.
Look, really? Seriously? Is this is the guy? And he's like, no. Again, Joe, and I mentioned it. You hear the conviction in what he's saying? Like, that man said that. He was in the mirror. He stood in front of the mirror, right?
He said it convincingly.
Yeah,
too.
and somebody be like, "Oh, well, that was a long time ago." You know what, man? If nothing else, he had all his marbles then. So he was even more dangerous then, right, than it is now.
What about Kamala? She said, "Oh yeah, I was smoking weed back in college, listening to Tupac and Biggie." Yeah. When in fact, Tupac and Biggie weren't even around yet. How the heck are you listening to them?
Right. And again, and I think it's that, and I think that's getting everybody in trouble. Like, even again with, I hate to keep going back to Biden, but Biden does that when he goes to these interviews. Like, he's going on these interviews with these young, charismatic young black people, right? They're charismatic. They're African Americans. They're intelligent. They're smart, and he tries to somehow relate with them, and that's where he says all these stupid, ridiculous things. When the reporter asks him, "Oh, so would you be opposed to taking a cognitive test?" and he says, "Oh, man, would you? How do you take a test for cocaine? Like that's your reply. Like I'm not even sure we're in the same realm of conversation. You know what I mean? So
my thought process when he did make that comment and says, "Come on, man.
Come on, man.
If you're doing cocaine, are you gonna take a drug test? Because you know you're gonna fail. So are you telling the American people you're not gonna take this test because you know you're gonna fail it?"
He can't even help himself. Like he can't even help himself. Like he can't.
Right. And I'm so ashamed of the way we do process here with especially presidency.
Yeah.
You should be able to pass that test.
Yes.
Be healthy. You're going to be a president and you got dementia.
Let me ask you a question,
Like,
Joe.
You're just going to go and push a button and you're thinking you're pushing the button.
Yeah, you got the nuclear football.
Toilet.
Bro, you got the nuclear football. Yeah.
You got the nuclear suitcase right there.
Yeah. Joe, you it's no secret. You've been on the show a couple of times. The audience knows you. You work at Comcast. Right? You're a technician. I'm going to ask you this question. When you applied for your job at Comcast, did you have to take a test?
Yes.
You did. Me too.
Yep.
You know why? Because they wanted to know that you had the ability to do basic math, to use basic logic, and make basic decisions. I wasn't offended by it because I knew that, you know what, I could pass it. So if I didn't think I could pass the test, then I'd probably have a problem with it. I'd probably be like, well, I don't want to take that test. I find it offensive. And, right? Because that's that's the cancel culture. If you say you're offended by it, you're all set. You get a free pass. So in this case, he just refuses to take it. And I think it's just obvious at this point. I think everybody knows it, but yet
everybody knows it. But people are going to still vote for him because they hate Trump.
But you know what I think?
And that part right there is what's scary is you hate the guy so much.
Yes.
That you're going to bring in a person that can't even think right.
You ready for this? Here I am. Check this out, right? I'm not conspiracy theory, but just hear me out. I think one of the biggest issues in America today, and I think that has been an issue for many, many, many years, and I think you'll agree, it's bullying, right? Like I think bullying is very, it's very, very, everybody's sensitive to that. It doesn't matter what race, creed, or color you are. Bullying sees none of that, right? And we're all susceptible to that. How about you throw Joe Biden up on stage with a Donald Trump? What do you think's going to happen? I think even if you're on Donald Trump, if you're team Donald Trump and you're part of that whole political committee, you're telling him, hey, listen, you can't go up there and you can't challenge the guy's intelligence. You just can't do it. Because if you go up there and you do that, what people are going to perceive is that he is literally a bully.
Right.
And, if I look at the grand scheme of all this and, the Democratic National Convention, that's the DNC today starts today.
That's tonight.
That's tonight. If you look at all this, is this what they're looking forward to? Are they looking forward to this debate so that when you get Trump on stage, is he going to be able to help himself? Right? Is this going to be like, is he going to implode? Is he going to be Kanye West? Is he going to be Kanye West with Taylor Swift up there with her Grammy and here comes, right? Is this what's going to happen?
Right.
Because
he's going to attack Joe Biden. And for people that don't take things so serious, he's going to go up there and he's going to be like, do you even know you're on stage right now? He's going to make comments like that.
Right.
Because we all know, and it's not into something like that. I don't take that seriously. Like
yes, but people do, man.
People do.
Yes,
they take everything
they
literally.
Can relate.
This guy says
yes,
anything on TV, and they take it literally.
Yes.
And I honestly think he baits the media. Yeah. He'll say something, he knows the media will run away with it, and he's just sitting in the office laughing it up. Going, hey, you took the bait.
Right. And the perfect example of that is the China virus. The fact that he keeps referring to Corona and COVID as the China virus, that's his way of doing that. That's his way of stirring the pot. And it's funny because he said it. Remember, he was saying it, and they made such a big deal about it. He stopped saying it. And then he started saying it again, and now nobody even cares. Like it's just regular verbiage for him. Like he says it all the time, and nobody's saying anything about it. You know what I mean? So again, when I mentioned it in the past, and I know, Joe, we've talked about it. He is a mastermind of reality TV. That's what
he likes entertainment,
right? Like he's been working at this for many years. You know what I mean? Like being on television, all of that, the Apprentice, all of that was all leading up to the grand stage of where he is right now. And I think again, very easily, that castle can crash if he's not careful in these debates. I think he really needs to be cautious. He really needs to be careful because, and there's just one reason. When you are friends with Cardi B, when you and Cardi B are tight, right? Right? When you and Cardi B are talking about WAP, then I think you have nothing to fear, right? Because you know that now you now have every young voter on the planet, right, on your side. I mean, have you had a chance? Have you had a chance to listen to the new Cardi?
I googled it, and there was a YouTube video of her video, and I was just watching it.
Parental
what
advisory right now. This is a little parental advisory right now. Like, let's just take a listen. Go ahead, Joe. Enjoy. Yeah, keep going, brother. So Cardi B, if you didn't know, is on the cover of LA magazine, ELLE magazine. And she was granted and bestowed the great honor of having a 15-minute interview with who else, man? Who could it be, Joe? Who else could it be? Who else could it be?
I don't know. Mike Pence?
Nope. Close.
No?
Close, buddy. Close. That's a good guess, though. Yeah.
Hillary?
Ooh, that's another good guess.
Well, we all know what she's thinking about, so maybe, I don't know, Bill Clinton?
You know what, man? That's the best answer I ever heard. But in this case, Mr. Joe Biden,
really?
You know what? Somebody in his campaign committee had the great idea of booking a 15-minute interview with Mrs. Cardi B. And it's just in time for her new release of her song, Wet Ass Pussy. Let's celebrate.
Look, I need a hard hit, I need a deep stroke, I need a Henny drink, I need a weed smoke, not a garden snake, I need a king cook.
What the hell happened to music?
Yeah, right. Not only that, man. How does Cardi B get an interview with Joe Biden? Like, I just explain that to me. I gotta know. I gotta know. And not only that, 15 minutes, bro. 15 minutes. And you know what the worst part is? You ready for this? You ready for the worst part? I listened to the whole 15 minutes. And those are 15 minutes I'll never get back, brother. I will never get back. So,
How are you?
look at this.
The name's Joe.
Well, hello there, Joe.
As a matter of fact,
I listen, I'm just going to warn you right now. This is a public service announcement. Like, you're going to see the neurons and neutrons exploding here with the amount of intelligent conversation that's going to take place right now. You got to prepare yourself, okay? This is conversation beyond epic proportions, Joe, that we could never even comprehend. All right? I mean, just give us a quick listen. We can.
my daughter, the love of my life, the life of my love. She's a fan of yours.
Hi, how are you?
This is Ashley.
Good. How you doing?
You know the nickname she gave her father when she was growing up? She'd call me Joey B. So we
That's
may
when
be
he was in the
related.
swimming pool. When he was in the swimming pool with the kids.
Yeah, and his hair was growing in his leg.
How you doing? I feel so crazy because I feel like I'm a little bit late. But Biden, let me tell you something. When you have kids my age, like the one my age, 2 years old, your schedule never go as planned. You know what I'm saying?
You're telling me? I got 4 kids, 5 grandkids. Come on. I'm an expert. I understand about kids. The most important thing in the world.
Do you not want to shoot yourself in the head right now, bro?
We all know he understands kids.
Always.
Jesus.
My kid come first.
That's terrible.
Keep it that way.
I shouldn't even laugh. That's so terrible.
I heard you got some questions for me.
Check this out.
I do have some questions for
All
you.
right.
First of all, I want to
what we got.
congratulate you. The cover of ELLE, I tell you, that's pretty good. That's pretty big time. Number one, doesn't surprise me. You're on the cover. But number two, thanks for your generosity dealing with people who are suffering.
Bro, with a song like WAP, right? It's no surprise she's on the cover.
COVID. There's so many people who needlessly are in trouble, who are needlessly have died when they didn't have to, if we had taken the precautions we needed to. And thank you. You have a generous heart. And
all of Cardi B's efforts have saved people's lives.
Yep.
She's out there, front lines. I saw her, like she was with the Red Cross saving lives. So, yeah, Joe, good call, buddy.
What I wanted to know was, tell me what's your main interest in terms of this election?
I have a whole list of things that I want
I
wish and I desire
Whole list.
for our next president to do for us.
I'm going to write number one. So
first thing first, let me keep it a buck. I just want Trump out. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like his.
All right, so that would fall. What's the category for that, Joe? Like, I just want Trump out. Like, what is that? Is that like I hate my boss? Is that what that is? Is that?
That's pretty much what it is.
My teacher doesn't like me. Is that what that? All right,
Yep.
We'll put that in that category.
Pretty much.
Let's see what else she's got.
Mouth gets us in trouble so much. I don't want to be lied to. I don't want Like, you know, we're dealing with a pandemic right now, right? And I just want answers. I want to know when this is over. Like, you know, I want to go back to my job. I want to be able to go outside. I want to be able not to feel like I'm trapped in my home. But
you know what? I'm going to say it right now. Fuck you, Trump. You're a fucking asshole. All right? Cardi B cannot leave her house, okay? That's shame on you.
Her mansion.
Shame on you, Trump. Because of you, we can't leave the house.
Well, I want somebody to lie to me and tell me that it's okay to go outside. It's okay not to wear a mask. That everything is going to be okay. No, I want like a timeline of when things are going to get better. I want
a pandemic's going on. We're going to give you a timeline
for us to get better. Besides, you know, taking precautions like with our masks and quarantining. I need somebody to tell me like this is going to be over when we.
Is that like a martini, quarantini? Is that like a no?
Well, she wants a timeline. I give her a timeline, right? When this whole thing started, it was 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Right. 15 days. What? 15 days. It was. Remember?
5 months in.
Yeah. Yeah. Here we are.
We're 5 months in.
Yep. Here we are.
You want a timeline, Kylie B? I got you one. Today's what? August 17th. 78 more days, and we'll flatten the curve. You know what happens? 78 days. November 3rd.
Is that wouldn't be the election?
Yeah.
Oh, that's when people are voting for the next president?
Yeah, that's when after that day, the curve will be flat.
Hold on.
No matter who's president.
Other countries are doing better than ours when it comes to this pandemic. I need somebody to tell me the truth, the hardcore truth. Also, I, of course, want free Medicare. And this is why it's important to have free Medicare because look what's happening
with Bernie Sanders, right?
You see why we should have been
having
the Biden
Medicare campaign is starting to move that way.
I, of course, think that we need free college education.
Oh, free college education.
And
damn, I'm going back to college
Black
at
people
40.
To stop getting killed. And
people start getting killed?
No justice for it. I'm tired of it. I just want more stricter laws that is fair to Black citizens. And, you know, it's fair for cops, too. If you kill somebody that doesn't have a weapon on them, you go to jail.
Oh.
You know what? If I kill somebody, I gotta go to jail.
Oh.
You gotta go to jail too.
Okay. There it is. What'd you think?
I think that's the only one that I agree with her. If you kill somebody that doesn't have a weapon.
Bro, I told you. Did I not tell you this is the most brilliant? Like, you were never going to hear an interview like this ever again. This is breaking news. Like, imagine if imagine this concept, brother. You kill someone and then you go to jail.
That's crazy.
Imagine that. Imagine that concept. Imagine
it took all the way until 2020.
Yes.
And we needed Cardi B to tell us.
Do you know what I'm upset about? I didn't think of it. That's what I'm pissed off about. Why didn't I think of that, bro? Right?
All these politiciins and people in Congress and stuff can't think of that.
No. Imagine. And you know what? The interview. I mean, I know we're poking fun, but the interview just gets worse and worse. It just
the power.
It's on and on and on. It's him blabbing.
Dogs ripping off the clothes of black women, elderly women going to church, and kids being knocked down with fire hoses and their skin being ripped off. All of a sudden, as Dr. King said, we had the second emancipation. We had the Voting Rights Act and we had the Civil Rights Act. It changed things because people said, oh, my God, that's happening. I think I heard you say somewhere along the line what I've been saying. This cell phone has changed America because what happens now? We're at a point where some brave kid, 15 years old, can stand there and for a total of 8 minutes and 46 seconds take a photograph of a black man whose family I know and met with and understand and spent time with and watched him brutally murdered. And people around the world were saying, my God, it really happens? Because I'm not in a neighborhood like that. I don't come from a place. And now, guess what? They're demanding change.
Like people, we're not asking
because of your criminal act.
Right.
That's the reason why.
It was.
He wrote that criminal act, and the cops got off on it.
Yep. And if any, you know
he
what?
He wrote that act.
I wish I had the clip because you hear him on the Senate floor and you hear the way he says it and the way he explains that act, and it is the most racist. I mean, you hear it. It's like watching Archie Bunker. If I watch Archie Bunker right now, I'm like, jeez, I can't believe he just said that. Like that's
it would not fly on TV.
No, absolutely not. And in this case, again, and here we are, and the interview goes on. It's like literally 16 minutes and 23 seconds of the two of them going back and forth with no substance whatsoever. No, there is just absolutely no gravity to what they're saying other than what we've been saying all along. I mean, the obvious is the obvious, guys. I mean, it's clear that there's this divide amongst the country, amongst everyone. But again, as we continue to feed into this rhetoric, as long as the opposing forces exist, this is the space we're going to live in. We have to get past this. At some point, Joe, I have to believe, I keep coming across it. It almost seems like there's a spark of light. Like you start to see more and more people are starting to speak up. You know, in the last episode, the title of episode 40 was To the 62% of Americans. And what I'm referring to is people like me, man. I'm part of that 62% of Americans who are literally afraid to share their point of view, afraid to share their political opinion because of being ridiculed. Or you heard me, right, with my uncle and him freaking. Like, who wants to be involved in that? Like, who wants to fight with a veteran? I don't want any of that. You know, I don't want to deal with it. So like 62% of America, I stay quiet. You know what I mean? Other than when I come on the podcast and this is my platform. Other than this, I don't talk about this in public. You know, real quick.
I talk about it, but you got to understand, like, for me, I don't go left, I don't go right. I'm not Republican or Democrat. In fact, I'm registered as an independent.
As am I.
Because I believe both sides. Like, both sides have great point. You know, Trump has good point, and then I always thought it was going to be Biden. Yeah. I thought for sure it was going to be Biden versus Trump, which that's the way it should have been because he's more eligible than.
You mean Sanders? You mean Sanders?
Sanders, yes.
Yes,
Sanders is more eligible than Biden.
Even today, Sanders was on Fox and he was talking about, of course, because he's actually, I believe he's speaking tonight at the DNC, and he was talking about, and they say that Biden has absolutely adopted his doctrine, like right, like everything that he was his dossier, like
because he wants Sanders' votes.
He wants the votes. He wants the votes.
He's not going to when he gets into office. See, what people need to realize is before Trump, every single president, I don't care, Republican, Democrat, they all come in, right? You all see the debates and they come out with their policy, what they want to do for America. And you're like, wow, that sounds great. That sounds great. They come out with 20, 30, 50 policies that they all have in place that they want to do for America to make it great. You know, end the wars here and make better energy here and trade deals. And they all come out and they all tell you, this is what we want. This is what we want. And then we all feed into it. And what happens when they become president?
None of it. Yeah.
Maybe 3.
Yeah, but that's the joke, right? Is that the joke? That's always the joke, right? Like I mean, growing up, I mean, even when you watched cartoons, like that was always the joke, right?
Vote for the best liar.
Yeah, you vote for the best liar. And you were lucky to get, you know, maybe 3, like you said, 3 or 4 out of the 10 things that they promised. And we were kind of okay with that, you know, but now I think we live in a space where we're holding people more and more accountable, right? I mean, if you're telling me we have a jobs issue, then we need to fix the jobs issue. Let's figure that out. You know what I mean?
And that's the reason why Trump came in, because he said he was going to fix it, and he did fix it. He also said he was going to do a lot more other things, including with China and building a wall and making the military. He's done everything that he said he was going to do in his campaign runs.
Right, which is a perfect segue to where we're going next. And it's, you know, really talking about Trump, and then, of course, this new stimulus package that he, you know, actually wrote executive orders for. And it was, I believe it was 4 different orders. One is to cut and suspend payroll tax. And he said that that's currently going to be temporary. But if November he's voted in, he said he's going to make that permanent, right? For anyone making...
Well, he said he'll see at the end of the year. He didn't say he was going to make it permanent.
Yeah, if he's going to, and that would be like right around November. And so, you know, for anyone making under $100,000. So, and then of course the $600, you know, weekly bonus is going down to $400, right? So you would only get the $400. And then, of course,
that you actually get $300, but your state that you live in has to kick in the extra $100. And if they decide not to, you're only going to get $300.
The 25%. And then, of course, it was the student loan relief. So 0% on student loans, no penalties, helping the kids. So, you know, I think all of those things are great. I think, I'll be honest with you, Joe, I actually found myself asking the question, how, because I mentioned it in previous podcasts, I am struggling hiring people. And I said to myself, gee, well, how do you come out of this, right? How do we stimulate people to go back to work? And for the life of me, brother, I never, ever thought the payroll tax. Like, what a brilliant idea that is, because you're doing 2 things with that. One, you're giving the relief and giving the money back to the people I think that really need it. People like me, people like you. And then two, it also gives us the incentive to say, hey, you know what? You and I, Joe, we've been working the whole time. There's been no corona relief for us. You know what I mean?
No.
You know, we've been essential workers the whole time. So there hasn't been any bonuses. There hasn't been any. There's been none of that. The idea that now we're getting a little something. Hey, listen, you're going to work, so here's something for you while you work. I think that's brilliant in its own. And I know he didn't come up with that. Some brilliant mathematician come up with that amazing idea.
Well,
but
he wanted that payroll tax. They've been talking about that since last year.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Before the whole corona thing.
I do recall
It was
something.
almost done until June. He was supposed to sign it into law in June, and then COVID happened, and and now that wasn't even on the table anymore in the second stimulus, so he threw it in there. Now, my question to you is, all right, that's great for us, but we're going to have to pay the taxes in that, and then not only that, that's going to affect the Social Security. Yeah. So I mean, there is downfall of it.
There is, because you're not kicking in. Yeah. Somebody's got to kick in.
Independence comes into. I see the greatness of it. Great, give me the money now. But you know what? At the end of the year,
you're right, because it's the FICA. You got to pay the FICA. Like that has to come from somewhere.
It's going to come from and all the people that think the stimulus, believe me, one way or another, we're going to be paying for it. So the working class people are going to pay for it.
And then on top of that, the Dems, they want this $25 billion relief for the post office. I mean,
yeah, they just got that in.
You know what, man?
Well, they just did that today, right?
Yeah, today. So let me just say this out loud. And this is no offense to any postal workers. Like, you know what? Hats off to you guys. You know what I mean? Like being a whatever the job is. Remember, like post office, like the joke was always going postal, right? Like they work so hard that. Let's talk about the post office for a second. You go into these post offices, and I understand that a lot of them are historical buildings. I get that, and they've been there for a long time. But you're not going to tell me you can't remodel these places, that you can't even bring in technology. I go to the post office near where I live, and they're literally using wooden cubbies. You know what I mean? Like the guy is still manually slotting mail in boxes. Are you going to tell me that there isn't some sophisticated machine and that you can invest into the post office? For goodness sake, Amazon, bro. Amazon drops off like tons and tons of packages, and they actually say that the post office is it's costing them money to deliver the Amazon packages. How can that be? How can that be possible? How is it?
Well, first of all, it's ran by the government. So
there you go. There's the answer right there, right? Like this guy, right there it is.
And I think even before Obama even came into office, I want to say maybe back in when Bush was president, weren't they saying that the post office in the next 20 years
bankrupt, right? Like it was
may go bankrupt.
Bankrupt, right? Because
I mean, this has been a problem from past presidents, and nobody's done anything. But now,
you know what, Joe? I would totally agree with it. But you know what? I'm gonna challenge. I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna say, how is it that UPS can exist, FedEx can exist, dude? DHL is still out there. Like, how is it that these companies are still out there thriving? Right, thriving. Like even Amazon has their own delivery service now. And how is it you're the first ones? You're supposed to be the best. You know what I mean? The United States Postal Service, man. You guys were riding ponies across the country delivering freaking mail literally across the country. And you mean to tell me that here we are on the 20th and you can't figure out how to deliver the mail and turn a profit? I mean, again, like you said, it's a government.
It's ran by the government.
Man,
and guess what? All the presidents that came in past, they haven't even looked at it. Like, we got to fund more money into the post office service. We need to update their infrastructure. So we need to give them better trucks. We need to pay these guys more. We should balance the budget and give these guys more money and fix the buildings and make them thrive.
Right. Just streamline it. Make it sense. So it makes sense. So you're making money.
They're losing money because of those stamps. It's ran by the government. Right. How do you think that here you go, Cardi B. Yep. We're going to get free college. We're going to get free health insurance. And who's going to pay for it all? The working class?
Yeah.
But if I'm getting everything free, why the hell am I going to work?
Yeah, well, you'd be a fool. Because again, it's either all or nothing. So this is a perfect example of that. I mean, again, $25 billion for the post office. So you didn't give a shit. Nobody cared. So this isn't a today problem, right? This isn't a yesterday problem, right? This has been going on forever, as long as I can remember anyway. So why all of a sudden now the Democrats are like, oh, no, we need $25 billion. Listen, you're not asking for $25 million. You're not even right. You're asking for $25 billion all of a sudden. Okay, so obviously we know where I'm going with this, and we're talking about the mail-in voting. So why is it that all of a sudden that's so critical? And I will tell you right now, I think that the line was drawn in the sand today. I happened to catch Trump real quick as I was right before the show.
I saw that.
Did you hear what he said when he said it?
I couldn't watch all of it, but I was watching some of it, and I'm just sitting there going, "Man, this is a campaign ad."
Totally.
This is just his campaign telling people, you want to live in a criminal justice system here where the criminals are running the asylum, and you're going to vote for Biden. You see what's going on in Portland and in Chicago. You see all these other states. That's eventually going to run throughout the rest of America.
Right, spread like a virus. He said one sentence I watched it, and he said one sentence, and when I heard it, I knew that was going to be the headline, and it's going to be the headline, and it's when he said, "If I lose this election, I will lose it because of mail-in voting." And he said it. So now that's it. He has set the line. He drew that line in the sand. So no matter what now, I kind of wish he didn't say it, because that's pretty much it. No matter what, if I lose this election, it's going to be because of the mail. So now it's going to be all about the mail.
My thing is with the whole mail-in thing. So everybody's saying, you see the headlines, TMZ, NBC, all over Facebook and social media and stuff. You see it. Trump doesn't want to support mail-in voting. He doesn't want to give money to the post office. He's refusing to give money to the post office. But if you watch his press conference that he had, he said they wanted him, in part of giving out the extra $300 and not charging the college kids with the interest this year and evictions and stuff like that. They wanted him to also include a $25 billion for the mail-in. And he said no, because that is part of the stimulus package that the Democrats are refusing to negotiate with. He's like, why would I go ahead and put something on there that obviously he doesn't agree with?
Right. And should not be, one is not the other. One is not the other. Right.
He doesn't agree with it. We all know that.
But Joe, that's
voting.
it. You nailed it, man. This has been going on for how long, brother? It's been like, hey, I'll tell you what, we'll give you this, but we need this over here. And it's been like, all right, man, you got it. But in this case, the president's like, no, I'm not going to give you $25 billion in order to take care of the Americans. Like we need to take care of America first, our American citizens, and then we could talk about fixing the post office. You know what I mean?
Right, and that's what he was saying in that press conference. What does me giving them $25 billion help with people that their businesses are about to close? People are going to have to make mortgage payments and everything else. What has that got to do with? And I understand why they want it in there, because they want to mail in vote. But speaking of that, so now you see, I don't know if you saw my post before, but I posted about protesters protesting the postmaster general in front of their house about mail-in voting.
Right, with pans, banging pans, right?
So you're outside of this guy's house protesting with a bunch of people because you don't feel safe going to a mail-in. You want this guy to go ahead and what? He's got no control of it. He's got the money. The money is the money he's got.
Right.
He's not going to make these votes go any faster or any more secure.
Right. But that's their fight, though.
Group outside of your house.
Yep, that's their fight.
Because they don't feel safe getting in line and to going vote at the polls. But I feel safe going in front of your house, banging pans and chanting with a whole bunch of group of people there.
It's such a contradiction, bro. And that's what it's been. Like, again, how is it you're not afraid? Right, you're not afraid to go into a group of people in front of somebody's house, yelling and screaming. Right, you know that not everybody's wearing masks, and you know you got a couple of people that might be a little over the top or whatever. But so that's what and rather than say, okay, I'm going to drive to the school down the street in my car with the air conditioning on, my windows rolled up, and I'm going to have my mask ready. When I get to the school, I'm going to put my mask on. I'm going to get out of the car. Right, I'm probably going to walk through the door and then realize I forgot my mask and have to go back to my car to get it. But either way, I'll get my mask. I'll come back in. They'll call my name. I'll walk in, 6 feet apart, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to go into my little booth all by myself, right? My little booth right there. And I'm going to punch my buttons, bro. And I'm going to vote for the next president of the United States. Tell me how that is any more or less dangerous than me sitting in the street with pots and pans, screaming and yelling about shit that really that has no, like, you can't change. Like, there's nothing you can do.
How about this? I can go to a grocery store, stand in line outside of the grocery store. They're not like that anymore.
Yeah.
But when the pandemic was at its highest, we're standing outside a grocery store with our carriage in the rain, go into the grocery store to get your groceries. Or how about now you can go to Disney, stand in line there to go on rides. But I can't. You're telling me at the voting polls, you can't put social distance lines.
Yeah, dude. The only way you're buying that,
stand on.
Yeah, the only way you're buying that is if you're not leaving the house. You are literally like quarantined. You're not leaving if you're going out and you're going to the grocery store because you got to get food, and every now and then maybe going to dinner with your wife or your family, like you realize that. You're walking into a restaurant, you put your mask on, you walk through, they sit you down, you take your mask off. Like the people are on the side of me, they're not wearing a mask, I'm not wearing a mask. We're all together. I mean, I hate to say this, and I apologize to everybody for saying it, but you know what? At some point, we just got to move on, man. We have to move on, and I think
you got to sit there and just think, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, right.
Why is it okay?
Right.
Why is it okay for me? We just got the guidelines for the kids at school, so I can go to a restaurant.
Well, I was going to ask you that. How do you feel about your kids going back? Because you know what, Joe, you have 2 children. You have 2 young children. How do you feel about them going and returning to school? Are you in for the whole just do it or the hybrid?
I think the kids should go back to school. They need to go back to school, especially in some households where the kids are not treated as well as a parent should be treating their kid. You know, children that are being abused, not just physically, but mentally.
Yeah, right. Or just ignored, right? Just ignored.
It's a bad situation where they get to go to school, they get away from it. I think kids should go to school, but I think also it's got to be safe, right?
Yep.
So we got the thing, and it's like, okay, my kids are going back to school, but they're going hybrid. So they're going to go 2 days during the week and then 3 days remote learning.
Yep.
There was a question asked, all right, my kid goes back to school, they got to wear a mask. Now they're 6 feet apart from each other, from another desk. Does the student have to wear the mask all day long, even though they're at their desk 6 feet apart? And the answer was yes. My thing is if I go to a restaurant and I'm 6 feet apart from somebody, I can take my mask off. What is the difference here? Why can't the kid? See, that's what I want the kids to go back, but I don't think wearing the mask is good for the kids.
Right.
Because you got to remember, they're young. They need to take in germs. So their body can fight.
Right. But I think the argument is coming out of it. So kid goes to school, gets corona. You know, we know the kid will be fine. You know, strong immunity. But it's your parents.
If the kid is healthy,
and now they're asymptomatic, and now they're spreading the virus. So again, I go back to the original statement, brother. At some point, brother, we just. You know what? You just have to do it. Planes fall out of the sky. It happens. It doesn't mean we don't travel anymore. You know what I mean? Like we still get in a plane and we still fly because if you want to do anything in life and you want to go anywhere in life and business wants to, like these are things that we just have to take a chance on. And I'm with you, bro. It's funny. This over the weekend, hanging out with family, and one of the family members is a school teacher, and obviously having an opportunity to talk to somebody who's actually on the other end of it, dealing with the union and everything else. And I asked, I said, "What do you think?" She's like, "Just bring them back. Let's just do it." This whole 2 days come in, and then 1 day of cleaning, and then you get another group of kids coming in, and then the other. The perfect example. At my company, and I will give them credit for this, Joe. They went out of their way. Once Corona came around, like when we were in like the height of it, like the real, the meat of it. The company, what the company did is they broke up our staff into 2 groups, A team and B team. You had half the people working on the A team, and when they were at work, when they came to work, they got an increase. They got a $2 stipend an hour for coming to work. So you were there for 5 days, your Monday through Friday. You would go home, and now B team would come in on Monday. And B team would get the $2 increase. Now the A team would be home, and although they weren't getting the $2 increase, they were getting their regular rate. They were being paid to stay home. So bonus on either end of it. So they go through this whole process of doing that. By the time I would get my So A team would go through, right? They'd go home, and then I would get B team. They were like zombies, like literally zombies. Because it's almost like coming back from week's vacation, brother. You know what I mean? Like it takes a day or two to kind of acclimate again. And nothing against anybody. It's human nature, right? You've been sleeping in for a week. Like you're not getting up at 5 a.m. You're getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning, right? So that was happening every time I get a team returning. It would literally take them 3 days to get back into the groove of things, and then I was losing them again. So it was so counterproductive. But yet that's the kind of space we're in. So I look at the school system and I say to myself, you're going to do this hybrid thing. And quite honestly, like, these kids are going to be like zombies. Like, you're going home, and then now you're going to school. You work a full-time job. Your wife works a full-time job. How do you manage babysitting? How do you manage?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, who's going to watch the kids? Like, I don't know that we're thinking all this through, other than saying, you know what, we just got to, pull the cord and say, just let them go back. Just let them go back.
Yeah, my wife, she works part-time.
Yeah.
Now, when the kids go back to school, she's not going to be able to go back to work.
Yeah.
So she's going to lose them. She's going to lose that money, just like we did back in March when they shut down the country.
Yeah.
Like in jobs, you weren't able to go back to work. So with her, she's going to have to now stay at home, not go to work, and then we stop missing out.
Yeah.
You got to do what you got to do to, your kid has to learn.
Right.
You're not going to have your kid grow up being a dodo.
Right. Obviously, you want to keep your kid, but even on the adult end of it, on the parenting side of it, I think there's something. This speaks to something that, if you're a housewife or a house dad, right, or you're a home parent, mom or dad, either one. There are certain things that you do with your life that give you that rewarding feeling. You know what I mean? Whatever it may be. But when you work, that I believe that reward comes from, every day I get up, I go to work, I do my thing, I earn, and I come home and I celebrate with my family. Right? Mm-hmm. You're also losing that. So even the parents that were going to work and had careers, right, and were going to work, now you're forced to make a compromise where, in your case, Joe, you're like, listen, I'm making the majority of our finances. I go to work and you're going to stay home. And like a lot of people are forced to do that. But I think the impact that has on the family and just normalcy, right? We all like to get out of the house.
Well,
right?
Look, in your case, you work, your wife works. Now say both your kids are young.
Yeah,
and they're going to go, now they're going through this. What do you guys do?
Right, exactly.
Like, who gives up their career?
Right.
Can your job accommodate for you?
And even the same thing, like, does it make sense to pay somebody to watch my kid, right? Because now I'm working to pay for somebody to watch my kid. It doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's half a dozen and 1/6 of another. But that's really the space that we're in, and it kind of leads us into the next topic, Joe, and talking about, these kids and them going back to school. And of course, again, not that I want to play both sides here, but I also see the dangers to our elderly folk. Like, I know that, our senior citizens obviously are more at risk at this because of obvious reasons. People that are older are more susceptible to ailment. But in this case, let's talk about Governor Cuomo for a quick second. And I think I think it's very important, bro. I know it's kind of shifting a little bit here, but I think it's very important to realize. I think there's a lot of information out there and there's a lot of decisions that are being made. In this case, Governor Cuomo, in the height of the coronavirus, I believe what was happening is a lot of these elderly people, and you know what? And I never want to tell a story out of tail, and I give everybody credit where their credit is due. But in this case, I know that they were quite aware that the nursing homes, that was like for one of the first things I remember hearing, like, hey, they're not allowing anybody in, they're not allowing anybody out. Like, older people are very susceptible to this. Like, they don't want to spread this. But in this case, he ordered in total over 6,000 seniors. They're saying that he's directly responsible for returning them to the nursing. So for example, you got corona. They send you to the hospital. You're treated for corona. And then they were sending them right back to the nursing home again and infected everybody.
Wait a minute. So Trump sent them over a boat for them to put people on.
Yes. But there was a mistake. There was a mistake. Did you not hear the mistake? There was a mistake. And you know what the funny thing was is I only heard it once. And it was that they accidentally transported 3 people to the ship, and all 3 people were COVID positive. And at that point, they made an announcement that they were going to make the ship COVID as well. Because if you remember correctly, the ship was never going to be for COVID. The ship's intent was for recovery. Right, exactly. And in this case, they actually inadvertently sent 3 people to the ship. And at that point, once you break quarantine, they're like, well, we're just going to make it. Real quick, I got a clip that I'm going to play for us real quick, and it's Cuomo. You know what? I don't want to upset anybody, but when you hear it, it kind of resonates a little bit. But this is what he had to say.
Who can we prosecute for those deaths? Nobody. Mother Nature, God, older people, vulnerable people are going to die from this virus. We can't keep everyone alive.
There you go. That's what he said. That's what he
Well,
said.
he's right. You're not from this virus. You're not going to keep everybody alive.
You're not.
But
You're not.
you know what you're going to do is not send recovering into
right.
You're not going to send them into a nursing home where they're more susceptible to this thing.
Right. And I think that's a direct decision. You know, if the president makes a decision that actually costs people lives, we have to make him accountable. If anyone,
well, according to the Democrats, he did. He didn't act soon enough, and he's not wearing masks. You know, honestly, do you really need to have the president come on TV and tell you to wear a mask?
No,
because I can tell you right now, listen, when this whole thing started, before they even shut down the country, and I started, and we all started seeing, oh man, cases, they're starting to come into America. You know, so me, I didn't sit there and wait for somebody to tell me that I have to wear a mask. I started wearing a mask
sense.
because
Common sense kicks in, right?
You know why? Because I see it on TV, and I see the people in Europe. What are they all doing? Wearing masks. China, well, they always wear masks. But you see it, and then you see the doctors coming on TV in interviews and saying, oh yes, this virus is really bad. And what are they doing? They're wearing masks. So guess what? I started getting me some masks. I got me some surgical masks. I rolled up, and I'm not going to say who, but they know who they are if they listen to the podcast.
Thank you, right?
I roll up, and I'm wearing my mask. And I'm at the dumpster at work, and all of a sudden I get, hey, you look ridiculous wearing that mask. You know that mask doesn't do anything. I said, really? It doesn't?
Really?
I said, well, why is all the doctors and my doctor and everybody else, because I got asthma.
Right.
So I need to look out for myself. I'm like, so why are they telling me to wear a mask? Well, the CDC doesn't say to wear a mask. I don't need a CDC to tell me to wear a mask.
Right, just look around,
I know
man.
Common sense.
Look at Italy.
See what's going on?
Look
in
at
the
Italy.
world.
Like Italy was the first sign, man. Like everybody was dying in Italy. Everybody.
I know when I see something going on and I see a trend going here, like, ooh, I don't need the CDC.
So somebody actually went up to you and said that to you. That's you know what? No one's done that to me yet. No one's done that to me yet where I felt like I was actually being questioned as to why. Because I mean, for me, I guess now it's the obvious. I mean,
this was all when it
right.
First
That's what I'm saying.
You nobody knew what the hell to do.
Right, exactly.
And everybody was just like, all right, germs.
Right, you're ahead of the curve.
Everybody started running out and grabbing toilet paper at the time. And I'm sitting there trying to like things, disinfectants and cleanings. And I'm sitting there going, man, I could freak this, man. If I need toilet paper, I could always go grab an old shirt, go outside.
Man. Right. You know? And now, dude, and nobody.
That's what you got a hose for.
And nobody cares about toilet paper now. Nobody. Like, right? I was going to say.
Well, it's like I don't need a president to tell me this. I don't need somebody. And I feel sorry for people that really do depend on.
It really is. It's like cattle.
Hey,
they're all looking to hear. One cow's got a bell, right? The ding, ding, the bell, right? The cowbell.
How come one dog can contain a herd of sheep? How can one dog do that with a herd of sheep? Fear. Right. And that's what's going on in the news.
That's it, man.
In social media.
You nailed it.
They're all feeding into fear.
You nailed it. You nailed it. If you
don't live in you got one life to live.
That's it.
Okay? Yes, you want to be cautious. So go ahead. Wear your mask.
But live your life. But you live your life.
On,
Joe, you know where I'm going to be this weekend? My family and I, my wife and my son, my daughter can't make it, but the three of us, we're going to go hike up Mount Washington this weekend. That's what we're going to do. We're going to drive. I was in New Hampshire a week ago. We had an amazing weekend. I'm going back up again.
Nice. It's nice up there.
Yeah, man. We're going to hike up the mountain. We're going to spend the whole weekend together, and we're just going to enjoy it. And
good for you. Hey, I even told my wife, I said, hey, listen, the flights are so cheap.
Yeah.
Why don't we just go down to Florida or even go to Disney for 3 days?
Why not?
The flights are like $60.
Why not?
It really is. It's like $60 a person. What the heck do you ever find a flight under $500?
You don't.
With your luggage and everything included.
You don't.
Like, come on.
You don't.
And you see people out. People are out still living their lives. They got the mask on. They got their hand sanitizer on.
Yep.
Everybody's, properly socially distancing. Yeah. You can still live your life.
Absolutely.
And do things.
I think everybody.
Don't live in fear.
Yes, everybody's actions is having impact. I think everybody who's wearing masks and using hand sanitizer, people are less sick, so they're not spreading it as much. Yeah, I think we're in better shape now than we were before. But again, I just refuse to lay down and die. I do it, bro. I play softball. I'm on a softball team. If I play 2 games a week, like I am living my life, and I'm going to continue to do so because Bro, I'm in my 40s, man. I'm not going to look back at this time and be like, oh, man, gee, I sat around and did nothing all those years because the government told me so. You know what? The government's going to say a lot of things. The government has said a lot of things. If I remember correctly, Al Gore, like 12, look, we shouldn't even be here, right? Al Gore said that the world was going to end in 12 years. 12 years, we weren't going to, and here we are, bro. We're thriving. Everything's still going, and we even have a coronavirus to go along with it. You know what I mean? Like it's
every 10 years. Right? Every 10 years, we're going to die.
You know what, dude? You go even
the
go
world
back.
Is going to end.
Let's go back to 9/11, right? 9/11, like that was it, the end of the world, right? Oh my God, airplanes flying into buildings. It was the end of the world. We couldn't imagine if anything possible could be worse. And then here we are dealing with coronavirus. You know what I mean? And we're still dealing with.
We were more united.
Yeah, man.
Than we are
right now. And we need each other more now.
That's crazy. Right?
Yeah.
You know, like something like that had to bring us all together.
Yep.
Regardless of religion,
matter. It didn't matter,
race,
bro. Yep.
Skin color.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. We were all on one page saying somebody's attacking us.
Yep. Until this day, one of the most just vivid images in my mind is shortly after both the towers collapsed, and you couldn't tell who was black and who was white. Everybody was literally just doused in concrete dust and dirt and debris. And there was no color. It was people carrying people away from danger. That's all you saw. That's all you could see. And the idea that we could possibly get back to that, I would hope. But you know what, man? When you have rhetoric out there, and you know what? And I'll say it. We were talking about it, and I had it in the show notes. They were not going to celebrate. They were not going to shine the lights for the 9/11 memorial. That was canceled.
No.
Can you believe that? Who would even suggest that we do not remember that infamous day in our history that changed every single one of us forever? I want to hear the guy who rose his hand, or a woman who rose his hand and said, hey, yeah, I don't think we should have the 9/11 memorial this year. I don't think we should.
Yeah, we don't want, and you know, their excuse was it's not safe for the workers. They're all going to be sitting there setting these lights up. Well, don't these workers work with each other every day?
Man.
And didn't you just have the Macy's 4th of July? You were laying fireworks off for 4th of July for the Macy's.
Right.
And now what? In a few weeks, you're going to be hosting the VMAs. So we can shine a light to remember what happened on 9/11.
Right.
When the country was on our last leg.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we all came together and we were united as one. It didn't matter who you were. Right. I'm picking you up out of that building.
Didn't matter.
Building just fell on you.
Yep.
I'm going to bring you to safety.
Yep.
It didn't matter. Who you voted for, which religion you are, what skin tone color you are.
Yep.
It didn't matter.
It didn't matter. I'm risking my life to help you, brother. We're going to help. Yep. We're going to help each other out. Yep.
And you know what? I go around doing the same thing. I don't care if I see somebody in a fire, you know, there's a house fire or something. Help me. My kids are in the house.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm going to go and I'm going
like
to try
you,
and
man.
get in there and try and help them out.
I'm like
not
you.
Gonna sit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It doesn't matter. It's a human life. When it all comes down to it, that is the problem with the world right now.
Yep.
There is no value for the human life.
No, there isn't. And
there is no value. Hey, I hate you because you like Trump. I'm gonna beat you up.
Yep.
I'm gonna beat you down. I'm gonna run you over. Yep. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that because I don't like your political views. Screw the political views, man. I've seen people that growing up are no longer friends because of who they voted for and their political.
Yeah.
Who the hell cares?
Yeah, seriously. Like it doesn't. But
listen, that's just one part of a person.
Yeah. But people take it but they take it to the extreme. They're taking it to a point where if you're not in line with my political views, that means you don't care about me, that you don't care about my feelings. Right. And I think the probably the biggest mistake that you can make in your life, I think honestly, and this is a PSA for everyone, the biggest mistake that you can make in your life is thinking that the person in front of you gives a shit if you respect their ideas or not. They don't care. I don't care if you. That's where. Oh well, if you don't like what I think, then I don't respect you. Listen, if you think that I care whether or not I have your respect, I don't. If you're not someone that I care about or someone that I love or in my professional realm, like if you're on Twitter and you say, well, you know what, man, nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. No. Nobody cares.
I don't care when it affects me and my family.
Absolutely. I'm with you, man. And
other than that, I don't give a.
That's it.
Like Biden, if you like Trump,
whatever,
if you like
man.
Obama, if you like anything
good for you.
like that.
Good for you. Good for you.
Good for you.
Yep, good for you.
So hey, let's go grab a beer.
I'm glad you're involved. Like, if anything at all, like, I'm glad that we can have a conversation. I am all about,
you
let's
can agree
talk
to
about it.
disagree
Yeah,
and still be friends.
absolutely, man. Absolutely. And unfortunately, even the other night, bro, I was having a conversation with a millennial. And I only say millennial because he's a millennial.
Young.
And he's young, but he's a smart kid. He's a smart kid. But he was brought up in a school system that taught him otherwise. Like, there is no, like, him and I were having a conversation, and he refused, obviously, they say that United States COVID, if we look at the numbers, like, for example, like kids back, 97,000 kids were tested for COVID, all of this stuff. So obviously, we have more positive cases of COVID, but we also have to keep in mind that we're doing the most testing. Like Brazil. Oh, Brazil. Yeah, you know what? Brazil has an undocumented number of COVID cases because they're not testing the way that we are testing. I talk to people, they're like, yeah, I'm on my 4th COVID test. I'm on my 5th COVID test. Like, everybody's getting tested. So obviously the numbers are going to reflect that. So when they use that information like that to, maybe tone or come up with some type of rhetoric, I get a little frustrated with it, and I don't follow. I won't go down that hole with you. I'm just not going to do it. Yeah. You want to talk facts with me, that's fine, but don't make Corona the reason why you're not going to vote for Trump or the reason why you're going to vote for Biden. Because quite honestly, a pandemic, I mean, really, I understand that, and I'll say this, and I'll say it carefully. I understand that Donald Trump is making decisions. Yes, I believe that he does make decisions, but I believe that he also has people in his administration that are making decisions for him, saying, hey, man, this is the best thing for you to do. And he takes credit for it. Anybody who's out there who thinks that this guy is making every single decision on his own by himself, you're in the wrong game. You're not even in the realm. Like, guys,
I can see him doing the businesses, like the business portion of like him dealing with China, and Mexico, and, all these other countries,
and like the stock market and how that's going to affect the market and all that. I can see him being smart in that, but I can also see him. I can see him looking over at Deborah and over at Dr. Fauci and saying, "Hey, listen, what do you think? What should we do?" Right?
That's what you would hope he's doing.
I hope so, man. I hope so, because
he's taking the experts of. He's taking the word from these experts.
Yeah. And you know what I think? Honestly, you know what I think? I think he's doing the same exact thing that Biden would be doing, that Obama would be doing, and that Bush would be doing.
But they would be more politically correct.
Yes.
And they would promote wearing masks.
Yes.
And promote staying in the house.
Yes.
And living in fear and rat on your neighbor that's having a barbecue with family members. That's what Joe Biden would do.
That sense of entitlement, like that, I can do whatever I want. I can say whatever I want. The perfect example of that is de Blasio. Like, forgive me for saying it, man. I have a short list of people like Barbara Streisand. Like, there's a short list of people, and de Blasio is on that list. He really, really is, because here is someone who I think is so pig-headed, so arrogant, and presents himself as something that I don't believe is good for anybody, let alone people who live in New York, the greatest city in the world, brother. How can you break the greatest city in the world? And I can tell you, call Blasio up, right? Call him up and say, hey, man, how do I ruin a city? Because he's managed to do so. So, obviously, it's not news to anybody. You know that they painted the Black Lives Matter right in front of Fifth Avenue, Trump Tower, right? So, come to find out, I was going through some stuff, doing some research, and I come across this artist. This guy's name is Scott Lebedo. And he's, from what I understand, he's a very famous modern artist. In New York, he's from, he's in the boroughs, he's Bronx. You know what I mean? Like, he is a New Yorker. And as a matter of fact, on August 22nd, they're having this huge rally at the City Hall in Manhattan. He's been promoting this, and he was actually on a news article that I was reading. And turns out what he did is he decided that he was going to do something similar to what was done with the Black Lives Matter movement. But in this case, I thought he did it a little more tasteful. And what he did was he actually drew a blue line right down the middle of Fifth Avenue. Like, there's a middle island where you walk in between traffic, and he did just a straight blue line all the way down. Right? No problem. Get out there with his roller, and he paints this all out. Well, doesn't he get a letter in the mail from the city, and it literally tells him to cease and desist, and that he needs to remove that blue line right away. And if not, he will be prosecuted. So right away, of course, this makes the news. Big deal, big deal, big deal. and they actually asked de Blasio, they asked Bill de Blasio and say, well, why is it you're making him remove it? And de Blasio's reply was, he didn't file a permit for it, right? He just went out there and did it. So then obviously they asked de Blasio, well, did you file a permit for what you did? And I just happen to have that right here.
I decided to do with the Black Lives Matter murals. It transcends all normal realities because we are in a moment of history where this had to be said and done. But the normal process continues for anyone who wants to apply.
So do as
he's above the law.
Yeah,
he
do as I
it.
say. Don't do as I do, right? Like he's above the law. I don't need to pull a permit. I can do whatever I want, but don't you think for 1 second that you're going to do it, right? So so that's the mindset, Joe. Those are the people that are running that great city into the ground. Literally
you see the people like Seattle.
Yeah, man. Same thing.
You
same thing. Yep.
You see the same thing. It's power hungry.
Yep. That's exactly what it is, man.
You know what I'm saying?
And it's almost you almost like there's a disconnect. You see them speaking on television, but who are they talking to? Who is the audience? Because I'm looking at that and I'm infuriated by that. Right? Because how dare you go on television and tell everyone, well, I'm the mayor. I do whatever I want. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's just the way it is. So no, we can't. Listen, this isn't the mafia, right? This isn't Goodfellas, man. You're not right. Those days are over, man. That doesn't exist anymore. You just can't go ahead and do what the hell you want, and then not hold everybody else to the same standard as you. You know what I mean? Shame on you, de Blasio. Shame on you, man. That just makes me crazy. Because you know what? That has happened to you, Joe. That's happened to me. That's happened to any hardworking American that's out there. Like, we've been a victim to that same type of mindset. You know what I mean? Well, you know what? I do it. Doesn't mean you can do it, right? You know? Right. It's all about who you know and how, right? And I just can't get past that, man. It literally makes me crazy. Crazy. And there's only
all about who you know in this world. You know that.
Oh, absolutely. And there's only one other person. There's only one other person that could make me even a little more crazy than de Blasio. And
AOC?
Lightfoot, bro.
Lightfoot.
Oh man, have you heard this yet? Have you heard this yet? Like, so this is Lightfoot's reply to Donald Trump when a legitimate question is asked. It was a legitimate question, and this is how she replies.
Donald Trump's comment last night was profoundly dangerous. And we must stand in firm solidarity and say this is totally unacceptable, no matter who is the speaker. And folks, we see the game he's playing because it's so transparent and he's not very good at it. He wants to show failures on the part of Democratic local leaders to throw red meat to his base. His goal is to polarize, to destabilize local government and inflame racist urges. And we can absolutely not let him prevail. And I will code what I really want to say to Donald Trump. It's 2 words. It begins with F, it ends with U.
There you go, brother. It begins with an F and it ends with a U. There you go. That's the mayor. That's the mayor. That's the mayor telling the president to go fuck himself. Like,
because she's upset because she let her state run down into the toilet, and all these Democrats, part of the stimulus bill, oh, we need to throw some money into these states so that way they can rebuild. Well,
by her choice. And back
those
to your,
governors and those mayors let their state go.
And it was back to your original point, Joe, when you said it. It's fear. You let these people eat themselves from the inside out, where people are scared. And you know what they started talking about? They're like, oh well, we feel that they're in the cities and they're ripping apart the cities, but now they're going into the residential areas.
So now they care.
Yeah. Now they care. Wait a minute. Well, you can rip apart the city, but you can't come into my residential neighborhood, right? Like, and now they're actually saying that that's happening. And so now that that's happening, of course, they're asking the questions and they're saying, well, is there a chance that these people could end up in the neighborhoods, right? Like now you're home and all of a sudden a home invasion. So they ask, and it was a reporter, and I don't want to put this out of context, but the reporter asked David Brown, the Chicago police superintendent, they asked him that exact question. And this was his reply. And of course, Lightfoot would never allow him to answer a question on his own, but just give this a quick listen.
It almost sounds as though you're saying this is the reason we have it is because the courts and the prosecutors were not doing their job, that they were going too easy on the looters from the last time around.
Don't take it from me. Just go by what's been done.
I'm just
I
asking
don't want to do
you,
your
is that
job
what
for
you're
you, but just go by what's been done. There were no consequences for the people arrested.
Greg, let's be clear.
So what they're saying is a lot of these looters are people that should have been arrested. They should have been arrested. They should have been put in jail, but they weren't. For whatever reason, they were allowed to just be let go, right? So now these people are coming. Look, so they went into the the Foot Locker and they went into and they robbed all this shit, right? And they got away with it. So now they're coming back again, right? So that's
wait.
Right?
They went into Foot Locker. They didn't go to like the grocery store, like AOC said, and said that these looters
those
are
are
doing it because
petty crimes, bro. Yeah, petty crimes. Yeah,
because they need to feed their family because they're not getting any money.
None of that, bro. It was none of that. It was literally just this. It was them ignoring this, thinking that it was going to go away on its own, and it ended up biting them in the face. And then this is the reply. This is the finish on this one.
I mean, don't bait us, okay?
No, I was asked
do not bait us. Do not bait us. This is a serious situation. People are concerned about their safety. Officers are concerned about their safety. So don't bait us. What we're saying is, as a result of what happened last night, there have to be consequences. We've got teams of people that are aggressively out there identifying the people responsible, looking at the plates, and we're going to bring them to justice. But when we do, and we do make those arrests, our expectation is that this is going to be treated with the level of seriousness that it should be, period. Don't try to bait us, mischaracterize, pit one against the other. We're not playing that.
I didn't hear any of that.
We're in a serious situation here, and we need a serious response. That's what we're saying.
A serious response, ma'am? A serious response? Really?
Yeah.
A serious response?
He's asking you a serious question.
Right, a serious question. How is it that these people were allowed to continue to loot over and over again? That was it wasn't a baiting question. He didn't bait you. He asked you a legitimate question, and because it wasn't a question that you wanted to answer, right? Like you didn't want to tell the truth.
She didn't want the answer.
Right,
to come
exactly. Don't bait us. Don't. So and then of course it's the whole political. If you heard there, she said nothing. She absolutely said nothing.
No.
Like it was all after that.
And that's what these left-wing nuts are great
I'm
at.
just asking you a question that seems
Ask and answer. You have another question?
Yes, I do. You talked a little bit about it, but several questions have come in. How do you convince people and businesses downtown that it's safe to be here?
So we explained that we're committing our off days of our officers are canceled. Officers are committing to working 12-hour shifts to not only protect the downtown, which is important, but just as important are our neighborhoods, so we can have enough resources
there it is, the neighborhoods.
Obviously anticipate what happened before. Once we take care of downtown, then the looters before, back in May and June, went to the neighborhood retail areas to commit looting. So we're anticipating all that and committing enough resources to our downtown and to our neighborhood areas to protect both, because both are important.
Is there intelligence to suggest that the neighborhoods are being targeted or will be targeted?
No, the precursor to what happened before.
He won't answer the question, and he doesn't. And he doesn't answer the question. He doesn't answer his question.
His boss is standing right there.
Right, and how you would imagine the fear you would instill, right? Because it's okay, right? I'm watching it on television. It's okay. It's not right. It's not in my backyard. It's not here, right? Because if it was in your backyard, you'd be doing just like that last guy did. You'd be holding a gun in your hand, trying to protect yourself from somebody, right? That's the truth in the matter of all of this. And you turn around and you spin everything and you talk in circles and you say absolutely nothing. And the truth of the matter is, guys, if you don't do anything about this, again, Steve mentioned it in the last podcast in episode 40. He goes, it took one guy to throw one brick. That's it. That one guy threw the one brick, and then that's it. It's like everybody's throwing bricks. They're throwing shit. They're throwing this is the same thing. Once you realize, hey, wait a minute, they don't really care about the downtown anymore, right? Everything's burnt down. Nobody gives a shit. Where are we going next? Well, we're gonna go to Mr. Smith's house, Mrs. Smith's house. We're gonna go to Mr. Brown's house and Mrs. Brown's house. And what are they gonna do? What's Antifa going to do? They're going to care, right?
They're terrorists.
Yeah,
that's what they're doing.
They just pulled. Did you see that? They pulled that guy out of the truck. You see the beating they gave that guy?
Yeah, I saw that.
Did you see that? How do you? Right. Mm-hmm. So what's your message? What is it? What are you telling people? What is your message? You're in the streets. You're ripping people out of their vehicles, and you're giving them dirty beatings. Okay, that's fine. Now explain to me, how does that change the world? How does that make me a better person? How does that make you a better person? How does that make us a better country?
Because this is no longer about what it was originally about.
Nah, man, it's really not, bro.
You got other organizations within another organization. So you got Black Lives Matter, which I totally agree with.
Yep.
You know, I agree with that movement.
Of course, right.
But
yes,
now,
yes, right.
What's happening is they're getting a black eye because now you got these other groups blending in with the MART, and they're the ones that are antagonizing the police officers and causing destruction. And it gives the Black Lives Matter organization, the group, a bad name.
It sure does.
Because every time you see it on TV, Black Lives Matter is peaceful protests. It was peaceful until you had one person out of, I don't believe it's 100%, all of these buildings being broken down and these fights are breaking out and cops are being attacked with laser pointers and stuff like that. I have no doubt about it. It's not 100% Black Lives Matter.
No, it's not. It's orchestrated. It's dusty.
It's
like,
orchestrated.
It's orchestrated. It's written. Yes.
And all it takes is just a few of them to antagonize the police officers.
It's true,
What's the police officer going to do?
Yeah, right.
They're going to pounce.
Right.
And then once they pounce, then you get these other groups. You got Black Lives Matter and Antifa. And guess what? You're fighting a movement. They look at it as, oh, you're fighting our movement.
Yep.
You're doing exactly what we're protesting against.
Right. And it's all in the name of an idea that just isn't changing anything, bro. It's just it's making things worse. The idea has always been me raised. I always respect. I know you, Joe. I've known you for a long time, Joe. You respect people. I have no reason to not respect you until you give me a reason to not respect you. And I think we've lost sense of that. I think the age of the internet, the age of Twitter, the age of social media literally desensitizes everyone to reality, to the fact that, you know what, man, I've taken a couple of shots to the head from my mother. You know what I mean? Like, I knew I screwed up when I was getting a backhand. You know what I mean? I knew, like when the broomstick, like I knew though, that doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't happen.
Nobody respects anybody.
Brother, we live in a culture. God forbid. And I say this, right? And everybody be like, oh, God forbid. And not that I'm promoting it or that I'm a fan, but God forbid you smack a kid in the ass, man. You can't even say that. I can't even say that. Like, I have to say this is just pretend. Like, if you were to smack a kid in the ass, I mean, guys, here I am, Joe. Here you are. How many smacks in the ass did you take, bro? I took a couple, man. I took a couple of shots to the head, bro. Where I forgot my name. Yeah, I forgot my name, bro. I thought my name was Steve for a week. You know what I mean? Like,
your mom's Portuguese. My mom was Portuguese. It wasn't just a smack. You got. It
was syllables. It was whatever the syllables were.
You got a shoe. Yep. You got whatever my mom could grab her hands on. Broom or whatever.
Yep.
She's coming.
Yep. And every vowel and syllable. Was
it was
shot.
Always wait till your father gets home.
Oh yeah, man.
Wait till your father gets home.
Beating number 2. Yep. Beating number 2. And again, if that's what it took, that's what it took, man. But here we are. Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to say this out loud. I think we were and are a strong generation. I really do. I think we are a strong generation. I think we have the right mindset. I think we can make great things happen. But I honestly believe that we are bonded by our own creation. I believe that we've raised a generation of people that have been taught with different ideas, although we live together, right? We're in the same house. We live together. You're my kid. I'm your parent. But the people that are having the most impact in your life day to day in the school systems are the ones that are shaping the minds of these people and have shaped the minds of these people. And unfortunately, Joe, I think it's too late. I think we finally realized, hey, wait a minute, what was in that social studies book? What was it? What were you teaching our kids, right? What were they learning? We had no idea. And meanwhile, here we are now figuring it out that they were taught to not respect their history. That's exactly what it was.
Right. So here's the thing. They're teaching. So it's just like the Bible. Mm-hmm. I can read it. You can read it.
Yep. Interpretation.
10 other people can read it. So it's how you go, what church you go to, and you listen to the priest and how they tell you about it, right?
Yep.
So this is the same thing.
One of the most interpreted books in the world, the Quran, is one of the most misinterpreted books in the world.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're the most one. Islam's is one of the most peaceful religions out there.
Yes.
But you got the Quran.
Yep.
And it teaches hate.
Yes, the jihad, the holy war.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And then here we are. And you have a whole generation, to your point, Joe, you have a whole generation. Like, what was ISIS? ISIS was a generation that was bred. The ISIS wasn't
on the Quran.
Yeah, they weren't trained. They weren't trained. They were bred. These were kids that were taught to hate the Western world, man. That was it. That's all they knew. That's all they knew.
So I think the teachers, what they're doing, they're teaching our history and social studies and all that. They're teaching it, but they're teaching it.
Yeah.
And then they're giving their opinion on it.
Yep.
And I can tell you right now,
my
son came home. I don't know if he was in second grade. Maybe he was in second grade at the time. He came home and he was like, Trump is the worst president. He is bad. He is bad. Obama was the best president we've ever had. And I said, oh, yeah, who told you that? And he said, oh, my teacher told me that. I said, oh, really? I said, so your teacher's telling you, you know what I'm saying? Like,
man.
That's the one thing I hate
at
about
that
school.
age, Joe. At that age,
don't teach your opinion.
Right.
Don't put your thoughts, your opinions on my child.
Should be reading
Teach
Dr.
what's
Seuss.
there.
Dr.
What's
Seuss.
in the handbook.
Yep.
Teach it.
Yep.
Teach it. Don't.
Yep.
They don't need to know this and that. When they get older and and they get into the history, they can see. Yes, Columbus came here and stole the land.
Yep.
You can make that assumption. Yes, he was. That was bad.
Yep.
But we wouldn't be where we are today.
Right.
And just like history, any president, any war that we've been in, granted, yes. Was it bad?
Yep.
Yes.
Always.
But are we not the greatest country in the world?
We are. And
why?
Joe,
if we are so bad, if there's so much racism going on. This country is so bad. Why is the people trying to flood into our country and get out of their country?
Always.
Why?
Always.
Why, if it's so bad here, why is it that you got people from other countries trying to get into our country?
Right.
For a better life.
Every day, bro. Every day. And they're risking risking their lives to get here. And they're risking and they're leaving socialist countries. Our parents, my parents, came from Portugal. Socialism. They came here for democracy. That's why they you know what I mean? It was always the dream, the American dream, to come here and have opportunity, and that's why people come here. But when your kids are being taught things like that and told things like that at that age, man, I believe it's so impactful. A kid looks at a teacher and my parents, right? My mom and dad, they're the world to me, right? And they're telling me that I should listen to you, and that I need to pay attention to what you're saying, and I need to behave, and right, all of those things that you instill in your kid. Meanwhile, you're setting the stage for your kid to be absolutely, and I excuse me for saying it, but literally, just literally brainwashed, bro.
Granted, maybe he may go down as best. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? But as of right now, you can't say that.
That's not a conversation you're having with a 6-year-old. Yeah, you're not having.
That's a slap in the face of all the past presidents to now.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
That's an ignorant statement. It is. It's an ignorant statement. You can't. Yeah, it is. It's an ignorant statement.
Just not too long ago, I was watching a video on my phone.
Yeah.
And the Antifa was attacking, and you hear it, and they're chanting Black Lives Matter and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So my daughter, she's sitting at the table. She goes, if I was there, I would be chanting all lives matter. So guess what I had to do?
What?
I had to have a talk with my kids
and
say, you're right, all lives matter. But at the same time, the Black Lives Matter group, their organization, is on a movement right now because the black community is not being treated fairly.
Right.
They are not getting the same rights as you or I or anything like that. And that's been going on for years and years and years.
Yes.
So yes, you're right. All lives matter.
Yep. And now your kids are looking at you, right?
The only reason why they're doing it and they're saying Black Lives Matter is because yes, Black Lives matter.
Right.
They are being forgotten.
Right.
That's what they're telling you.
They're not saying that all lives. They're not saying that all lives don't matter. They're just saying, hey, look, we need a little help here. And to your point, I love to hear that, Joe, because to me, like I'm experiencing that with you, and I can see the sparks going off in their heads, and now they're going, all right, well,
because it's all right. Listen, kids are not raised. You're raised to be racist, or you're raised to be one way.
Yep.
Okay, they're not born to be racist. They're not born to look at another person.
Right.
I always tell my kids every time, just because a person looks different doesn't mean that something's wrong with them.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Some people have they're mentally challenged.
Yep. Yep.
Some people have different skin colors.
Right.
Some people speak different languages.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with
Nothing
them.
wrong with it.
That's
Yeah.
just that is just them. You don't make fun of people like that.
Nope.
You don't make you don't look down on them.
Right.
You just try to get to know that person. Once you
If
start
anything,
knowing
Joe,
a person better,
yes, and it's an opportunity for compassion.
right. It doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter if a person, like, we make fun. I know we make fun of Biden because he's got dementia.
No,
the things he
right.
says. You know, we're
Yes,
just
yes. You're right. It is a little poking fun, but at the end of the day, dude, it's a serious
Right.
situation.
And I feel sorry for
right,
that. I
right.
generally
Me too,
feel sorry
me too,
for
man.
what these people are doing.
Yep.
Putting
Yes.
him through this.
Taking
because
advantage
he
of
has
him.
No
You're right.
business.
Yes.
He has no business being
You're right.
running for president right now.
Right. And you know what,
You
dude?
know, and I
right now,
feel
people
that
are hearing
he
you say
should-
that, and people are mad. People are angry. You just said that, and there are people out there right now that are mad. They are mad that they hear you say what you're saying. But, bro, you're absolutely right. He's just not like somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, I feel
Right.
like
they had so many people.
Yeah,
how many
man.
How many people was it? 30 plus people.
It was
that were running.
it was the most ever. They said it was the most ever in history.
Right.
And then even
And
when
this
they
is
were
what
doing
you
the
came out
debates,
with?
I think it was 18 people. 18. It was the most ever at a debate. Like 18 candidates. And so you
It
had this.
started off with like 30 people because
Yeah.
everybody and their mother was just running their name in there.
Yeah. Right. Right.
But
right.
I'm
right.
just saying this. Like I said, I think Bernie has a better chance.
Yeah.
Like that's my thing. Like I said, I'm independent. You know, I see Bernie's side, I see Trump's side. You know, I don't see anything with Biden.
Right, there is no
You know,
side.
you look
there,
at
yeah, there
you
is
look
no
at
side.
Biden's
There is
history.
no side. Yeah.
What does Biden's history
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
me?
there is no side. There is no side. There is.
You
you're
know
right.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, there is no side. Nope. Nope.
He's just at this point, he's going to tell you
Yep.
what you want to hear
Yep.
just to get your votes.
Yep.
And then when he's in office,
Yep.
he's going to do what the hell he
Dude,
wants,
even as vice president,
if he can. And
2
then
terms.
he's gonna go off in the sunset and say,
Done.
Kamala,
Yep.
here you go.
Dude, 2 terms
And you
as,
know what?
as a vice president, and I don't remember anything he did. I honestly, I'm not being facetious.
No.
I can't remember.
What did he do before this?
Yeah, I
He wrote
can't.
the
Nothing.
He wrote the Criminal Act.
That was it. Nothing. He's done. He's been a career politician, and he's done nothing. And I think, you know what, dude? I think they're taking advantage of the fact that he's an empty shell, and they're just
Right.
they're just dropping
He's a
it in.
puppet.
Yeah, they're just
He's
dropping
a
it right
puppet to
in.
the DNC right
Yeah,
now. He is a
yeah.
puppet.
Yep.
And you know
Yep.
what's scary? And I don't know if you know this, but you probably should, and everybody should, is if, say, he does ride off in the sunset.
Yeah.
I say 6 months in,
Yeah.
after his presidency, after he gets sworn in and all that.
Yeah.
I say by the end of the year, 6 months, by the end of the year, around Christmas time, he rides off in the sunset, hands the reins over to Kamala. Now, say, God forbid, something happens to Kamala.
Yep.
Who's your president?
Oh yeah, the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi.
Who's the Speaker of the House?
Nancy Pelosi. Shoot me now.
Oh my God,
dude! There's no way. There's no way.
Could you
There's no way.
imagine
I know I cannot.
her
No.
being your president?
Nope. To be quite honest with you, Joe, I think anybody who represents the state of California in any way, shape, and form should not be allowed to participate in any political race whatsoever. That's just my opinion. When your state is in such a just disarray, is a shithole, like literally a shithole.
Literally. When you make an
right,
app,
right, yeah,
when
exactly,
you make an app
right.
to
When you
see
make
where
that's
the
it. Yes,
shit is
yeah.
in your state,
You're out. You're
literally
out.
where
Yeah.
people poop.
Yep, that's it.
I don't think you did a good job in
so-
that one lone state. Never mind the rest,
So that
the
includes
rest of the country.
So that includes Kamala Harris, who was the Attorney General. She was the Attorney General for Los Angeles, and then she became the Attorney General for the state of California.
California.
So
Yeah.
she did both. She did both. And you look at California, man, and it literally is like a war zone, brother. It is a war zone.
And I don't understand, like
Yeah.
you said, I understand the reason why he picked Kamala.
Yeah, her
but
record.
she rated
yeah.
the lowest in the polls in the DNC.
Yeah,
She
she
had
did.
like
She had nothing.
2 or 3%.
Unrelatable. People could not relate with her.
Relate to
People,
her.
yeah,
No.
people could not relate. Like I said, if you go back in history, right, and you look at that whole campaign, the only night she had where people
When her went back and forth between
that was it. That
Joe
was
Biden.
with Joe Biden. She had that one night. They said she was a shooting star, and nobody saw her coming. And
Gabbard too.
Yeah, and Gabbard too. And then that was it. And then after that, she literally fizzled out, and it was her laughing on TV, doing stupid shit, dancing. Remember, it was just ridiculousness, and people just weren't buying
She was
it.
trying too hard.
She was
She's
trying
one of those
way
people
too
that
hard.
are trying too hard.
Yeah.
You know how you got those You get those friends.
And they
you
just
get your
can't
group
relate.
of friends, and there's
Yep.
always one that's always trying too hard
and it just
everybody
doesn't
else.
work.
That's
yeah,
what she is.
Yeah, it just doesn't work. And at some point, you're like, listen, no, you can't come along. We don't have an extra seat for you. So off you go. But listen, on another note, and I mean, man, I really, dude, listen, hour and 44 minutes in, and a lot of topic, right? With so much substance you and I have talked about, Joe. But I want to talk about a couple of things, and I want to go out on a good note. So there are two topics left in this podcast that I want to talk about. Obviously, Israel is one of them because I think that's just an amazing story there. But I didn't want to go through episode 41 without talking about Cannon. And if anybody knows, recently Cannon Hinnant, who is age 5 of Wilson, North Carolina, little boy was, and this is an absolutely heartbreaking story. I have a clip, and I'll warn you right now, in terms of audio, it is a little vulgar in the content, not so much in the verbiage, but just listening to what's taking place. And I'm just going to play a little bit of it. I mean, it's a little long, a little lengthy. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I think it's important for you to just hear about this because I really want to have a really important conversation, Joe. When we get through this, at the end of this, I really want to ask you something. I want to get your opinion on it because I feel that this situation has been unjustly categorized and it's not fair that it's in the space that it's in. Just give us a quick listen.
Cannon Hinnant, a 5-year-old shot and killed in his father's front yard, has reached far beyond the Wilson County community that gathers to mourn him tonight.
So this is the part that I just want to warn everybody. It's tough to hear. It's just tough to hear.
They were just playing in the yard like any other day.
Cannon had gone to church Sunday morning with his dad and sister.
Everybody there just loved Cannon.
And Cannon just loved riding his bike as he was doing Sunday evening in his dad's front yard on Archers Road. His 2 sisters there with him. His dad, Austin Hinnant, was inside when he heard the gunshot.
I just scooped him up in my arms and held him and I screamed and somebody help me please help me save my son. God, save my son, please.
Hinnant looked up and saw his neighbor in the yard next door, gun in hand, pacing frantically.
I was looking at him as I was picking up Cannon, and I was so full of rage, but I couldn't leave my son's side. I just wanted to be with my son.
Hinnant's fiance called 911. He says his neighbor, 25-year-old Darius Sessoms, who lived with his parents, soon drove away. Police arrested Sessoms the next day, charging him with murder. Can you explain why he would shoot your 5-year-old boy?
I have no idea why he would kill my son in front of his 2 sisters, his cousins. No idea.
Just the night before, Hinnant says he had Sessoms over for supper. They sat on the porch, drank a beer together.
So, because there was never anything between me and him, any bad blood whatsoever, for him to have a reason to do this.
But those last moments with Cannon, unimaginable.
I can't imagine what it's like to hold your son finally suffering from a gunshot wound to the head as his blood run down my arm.
And that's that. I just, again, I didn't want to bring everybody down, but I think it's so very important for people to hear that. I mean, I think we have a situation here where obviously someone outside of mental capacity, somebody who clearly is on the other side of reality, committed such a heinous act upon an innocent child. Leading to my question, Joe, and the point of me even playing this today, and I don't want to bring anybody down. I really didn't want to, but the first thing that I heard after this situation was people aren't making a big deal because he was a small white boy shot by a black. Why isn't it was a black guy shooting a white boy? Why aren't people enraged the same way they were with Floyd? And immediately when I heard it, it was no. I refuse to accept that, and I refuse to accept it because I think these are 2 completely different situations. And I think if you categorize these 2 situations, I think this is the problem with America today. I think this is the main issue where you've got 2 completely tragic situations, but somehow the rhetoric becomes it was a black man shooting a white boy. It's a white cop killing a black man. And in this case, I think the 2 are completely outside of each other. I mean, I'm asking Joe, how do you see this situation?
I see a crazy guy going out killing a kid, regardless of the color. You killed a little kid.
But we assume we're
and the same thing with
we're
George
assuming
Floyd.
though, right?
I mean, regardless. I mean, yes. Well, I can't say regardless because the cop, all the information about him is coming out.
Yep.
These two had a past and all this and that.
Yep.
And it was deliberate.
It was deliberate. It was deliberate.
They're both deliberate.
But I don't believe
the only thing is one of them obviously wasn't thinking right, and
Right.
the other one was knowing what he was doing.
one is negligent. Yeah, one is just pure negligence,
Right.
and the other one is, I think, a psychological.
And for people to say, why isn't this getting airplay? Why isn't this getting airplay?
Right.
Well, you know what? Why isn't getting airplay? It's a little kid. Regardless if it was a black man or a white man.
That's what I'm saying.
Regardless,
Regardless.
this is a child.
It's a child. It is a child.
At this point, you got to go beyond
Yes.
race or anything
beyond
like that.
the
It's
easy.
a child.
Yes, is a child, and these are two completely different situations. And I think when we stop playing in that sandbox of, well, you did it for this one, you didn't do it for this one, they're totally different. They're totally absolutely different.
I agree. It should get airplay on national news.
I do too. I do too. But I think
the narrative is always going to be
right, because you know what, we'll find
a black guy killed a 5-year-old white boy.
Right, exactly, and it shouldn't be that.
That's what the narrative is going to be.
Right, that's the narrative, but it shouldn't be.
Why does it always have to be a color?
Right, exactly, and exactly that's my point. Yep.
A person killed another person.
Yes,
that's what happened.
Right, there's an older generation out there that still sees things a little mono. You know what I mean? That that doesn't really see past that old way of thinking. But in a situation like this, as soon as I had that conversation, the very first conversation and the first comment that was made to me was, well, you had, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's dangerous. Like, I'm not even buying into that. I refuse to even have that conversation with you because it's
don't even get baited.
Don't even get baited. If you want to talk about one,
believe me, I do a lot of that on Facebook. I like to bait a lot of people into a lot of things. Half the crap that I post, though, I don't mean most of it. I just like to bait people in and see people
get the reaction.
Go crazy.
Right.
Because my Instagram and my Facebook, as you know,
yep.
two totally different screens going on.
Yes.
So I like to bait people in, and that's what the news is trying to do. And this is what people are trying to do. They're trying to bait you in to trying to justify, well, George Floyd's death and this little boy's death
are common, and they're not, and then they're both tragic situations, but different situations. It's like a bus crash and a plane crash. They're different. They're similar, but they're different. You know what I mean? And like you, Joe, I'm the same way with social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I separate the two. I have my personal account where you'll see a picture of my family, and then of course you've got the show where obviously it's all related to the show and some of the great predictions you make. You know what I mean? so
we'll see if I'm. Well, I hope to God we don't get to that point.
Yeah, right. You never
know if you do.
Right. But even still, like with the election coming up, I know you're going to be on the show again, Joe. It's just a matter. I mean, and you know what? Unfortunately, we were going to have Steve on the show today, and it didn't work out. Unfortunately, we talked about it, and I try to build. Again, like I mentioned this in the past, guys. I have a full-time job. Joe, you full-time job. We all have Steve full-time job. We all have full-time jobs. So sometimes it's just difficult to get us together, and to put in. And again, I say this, and I like to repeat it. I'm never going to just sit here and do it just to do it. Like, it's always going to be substance. It's always going to be fire. It's always going to be exactly like, you know what? I didn't think for 1 second that episode 40 was going to be any better than 41, man. Like, this is a kick-ass episode, Joe. Absolutely fantastic, brother. I'm so glad that you are here on the show with me. I'm so glad that you and I had this opportunity to go, through these topics. And again, I don't like to make the show political because I don't consider this a political show. On the norm, when I'm typically doing the podcast, what the show is. It's variety. It's got a little bit of music, a little bit of, some of the history, and then if we talk a little bit about current events. But in this case, I think there is so many vital situations in play right now with the country that I think it's important that we have this platform and that we have these conversations. And having you, Joe, having Steve on the show, I think it just adds a really just a great element of variety of opinion. You know what I mean? Because, you know what, I like you, Joe, I'm somewhere in the middle, you know, and I'd like to think that, you know, I'd like to think honestly that you're a little more level-headed than I am. And I think between the three of us, I think Steve would probably be the most on the extreme side, right? So, I mean, that's fair to say, right? I think between the three of us, we complement each other in our own right.
More open,
you know what I mean?
I just open-minded because I want to pass judgment, especially on people that don't really know.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. I never know what I'm going to learn.
We're going
right.
back and forth.
Yeah, you never know.
I want to hear why you think that way.
Right. And why do you have to make it personal? Like, that's my thing.
Right.
Why do you have to? Don't make it personal. Let's just have a conversation. Let's talk about your opinion and how you feel and what this is the key word, perception. It's all, we are all digesting the same information. It's how we're digesting it and then perceiving it. It's all the same for all of us, but we all apply what's good in our lives and what's good for us. And in this case, talking about life and just, you know, and I want to end the show on a good note, and I'm going to bring it up. The UAE, the United Arab Emirates, if anybody knows, you know what, Joe, I'll be honest with you. I never thought I'd see peace. I would in Israel. Like did you? I never thought that I would see, like, I thought that I would live and die my life and never see peace in that region. And here we are, literally in the middle of a peace agreement. Like, how cool is that, bro? The coolest thing, number one, was watching Trump cross the demilitarization zone and shaking hands with North Korea leader Kim Jong-un. That, to me, was an epic moment, regardless of how you feel. The idea that
hasn't happened.
Right, like that a president did that. Like, I was able to see that.
A U.S. president.
Right, and now we're talking about Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. We're talking about Palestine. We're talking about the UAE and a peace agreement, man, in the Middle East. Listen, man, you know what? If you don't want to give Trump credit, then don't give him credit. But you got to give somebody credit. This shit doesn't just happen, right? These people have been at war since Jesus walked the earth, man, right? Right? Seriously,
Exactly.
right? There isn't an older war. And somehow they're not dropping bombs on each other right now, brother. That's amazing. Is that not amazing?
Well, that's how all the wars have pretty much started, right? Religion.
And now we actually have an opportunity at peace in that region. And I don't know, man.
Hopefully, yeah.
Right?
Hopefully, I'm hoping that it lasts. You know,
brother. Berlin. We watched the wall come down. Right? Like, how amazing was that? And I think this is equivalent to that. I really do. I believe that
I believe so. Yeah.
Right? That this is our Berlin
This
Wall.
is going on just as long as that.
Yeah, exactly. And imagine if this all works out. I hope, I really do. I mean, not that we can get into all the detail about it going out of the podcast. I mean, we've been here talking about a lot of different things, but I refuse to go out on a bad note. And I just wanted to go out on a good note to all our friends from Israel, all our Palestinians. Like, this has been epic war between two religions, two peoples that have believed in something so strongly that they were willing to die for it every single day. Can we say that? Can you say that? Yeah. Right? So here we are. We're on the verge, on the cusp of peace in that region. And me, for one, personally, I am absolutely elated about it. I'm gonna keep my ear all over this. I'm gonna continue to follow the story in hopes that maybe 42, 43, maybe they have a peace agreement. Maybe it's all set and maybe we're great. You know what I mean? Like, I'm hoping for that. I really am. I am hoping for peace in that region, man. I really am.
Maybe the rest of the world can take note.
Seriously, right? I think that's the beginning of it right there. You know what I mean? Like, if you can get peace there, you can get peace anywhere. I really do believe that. And if you don't have peace where you're at, like, say, for example, like, you got a neighbor that's an asshole and you're looking to move, then by all means, you got to call Gary. Like, you know, Joe, give Gary Cabral a call. Yeah. If you're looking for anything real estate related, my buddy Gary, sponsor of the Bobby Kudo Show, give him a call, 508-415-4177, or shoot him an email, cabg2711@yahoo.com, and let Gary know you heard about him on the Bobby Kudo Show, and he's going to take super, super good care of you with all your real estate needs. You know, Joe, I'll be honest with you. I'll tell a little secret for me and you. The wife and I are considering some property up north, man. We really are. We're really looking into it, and I think financially we're like in a decent spot where we might be able to work something out. So more to come on that, brother. But I am and I'm working with Gary. You know, Gary's my man, and just looking for something on the water. Just not sure if we're gonna maybe get something that's already built, or we're even talking tiny house, right? Like, that's like the new, right? That's like the whole new thing, right?
Kids are growing up.
Yeah, that's it, bro. That's
up.
Joe, you nailed it, bro.
All you need is a 1-bedroom.
That's it. Because that way, you know what? If I'm chasing the wife, she can't run too far, bro. You know what I mean? Like, she's just,
and especially if it's in the winter, she ain't running outside.
She ain't going nowhere, right? But literally from the bathroom to the kitchen and then the dining room, right? Like right there.
Yeah, living the dream.
Living the dream, brother. Living the dream.
Waking up every day. Hopefully, I'm healthier than when I.
Are your kids still doing soccer? Are they still going to play? If there's any, are they still going to play?
No, soccer. My son's soccer was already canceled. dancing was coming back, but my wife is not going to put her in there. You just don't know.
Yeah, you just don't know.
You know, you're not going to.
Yeah,
she already lost out on one recital. You know, so
ugh.
She don't want to go through all that, then this, and then something comes up and no more recitals or anything like that. So she doesn't want to put the time and also the money because dancing is expensive.
We just celebrated AJ's graduation like a week ago. Like I mean, you know, the kids are.
Did they actually do it outside?
They did it. They did it outside. I'll be honest with you. Could they have done a better job? Probably. But you know what? I told my wife. I said, listen, I'm just grateful that we heard his name and we got to watch him walk across the stage and get his diploma. You know what I mean? Like that's what it was all about. And we were there. And you know what? For any of the parents that complained about it, like
that's a milestone, man.
Dude, they recorded it. It's on YouTube. You can watch a thing like you were sitting in the front row. Like big deal. You know what I mean? Like we were there. We supported him. And you know, congratulations to you, AJ. Congratulations to the class of 2020 all over the country.
Congratulations.
Right? Like this. What a tough
I
year.
just feel bad for like the kids this year that went through it, that are seniors. They didn't get to do their senior prom.
None of that, bro. None of it.
You know what I'm saying? They missed out. They missed out on it. And I'm glad that they, you know, some schools were able to give these kids
something.
that memory now of
something
walking down the aisle.
Yep.
Their
Dude,
diploma.
and, you know, and they did a parade too. They actually did like a mobile, like a car parade. Like we all met in this big parking lot, and they had everybody decorate the cars, and of course we participated. And you know, the police, you know, we followed the police, and we had a whole parade for them, and even that was a great time, you know. And that's probably something that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Corona. So you know, again, like I meant, the good with the bad and the bad with the good. I mean, you know, some things that we did that we probably would have never have done, and you know, he had the opportunity to do it, and even that, like I'm just, you know what, man, to be at my age and to have two adult children, both of which have graduated through the school system and are just, you know, I say, you know, Megan has her life and AJ's just starting his. It's rewarding, and finally at this point, brother, I'll be honest with you, the wife and I are getting to that point where we're going away, we're doing things. You know what I mean? They're old enough to take care of themselves, and it's tough to get to that point. You know what I mean? It really is tough to finally realize and say, you know what, like we can go. They're okay to be on their own.
Because there's times even when I'm talking to my wife, I'm like, man, just remember the days before we had a baby. You know, before we had kids, we're able to just go to a cruise or whatever. If we wanted to do it, we could do it. I kind of miss that, you know, because to be honest with you, I love cruises. Cruises, I think, are the best because you could just go from place to place and visit each.
Yeah, you get a variety. I agree with you, bro. I'm a fan.
That.
The food, I love the food. Like there's plenty of food.
See all different ones. You don't just stay in one spot.
Right.
And for me, I can't stay in one spot. Like my wife, she'll go, "Oh, let's go to the beach." Oh, beach is boring. Like I just can't lay there.
Yeah, right.
Like what's going on? Is there jet skis, some parasailing? Can I do some of that stuff? You know what I'm saying? Like that's me. That's I just want to. I can't because I'll just sit there.
Carpe diem, bro. Carpe diem. Seize the day, right? Like here we are. Let's take the opportunity. Let's get on a jet ski. Let's go parasailing, right?
Right.
That's why I'm like you. Let's do it
because you can set your excursions.
Bro, my wife, you give my wife a bucket of ice full of Michelob Ultras, bro, and she'll sit on the beach for days. You know what I mean? She's happy as can be. Me, on the other hand, bro, I like to move around, man.
You know, there's one place that I can go and I can be there for probably about a week and not get bored is Atlantis. I don't know if you ever been.
No, I've never been. Is it nice?
Oh,
yeah,
man.
Is it? Yeah.
Great. I could stay there a whole week.
Now there's a couple of those, right? Which one did you go to?
The Bermuda.
Bermuda. Right.
Yeah.
And
we went there. I went there we went there on a honeymoon.
Yeah.
So we were going to go there for our honeymoon, and then we were like, you know what? We can go on a cruise and just visit different islands.
Right.
Go to Key West.
That's
and
what we
stuff
did.
Like that. So that's what we did. We're like, all right, we got to find a cruise that goes to Atlantis.
Yeah.
Because we want to go to Atlantis.
Yeah. Smart.
So we ended up going, and we stood there the whole day, and almost the whole day because you got to get back to your boat.
Right.
But I was like, man, there's just so much to do.
And you know, at least you get a little taste of it, so you know if you want to go back. You're like, oh yeah, that's somewhere I'd like to go back to.
Yeah.
Although we didn't do the Atlantis thing, the wife and I, we did do the cruise for our honeymoon, and we did the Eastern Caribbean. So we went to Cozumel, Grand Cayman, and New Orleans, brother. We went to New Orleans, brother. What a blast, man! And I always said it. I would love to go back, man. We ate and drank drank like nobody's business, bro. And there's so much
Seems
history.
like a good time with all that jazz music
Brother,
and everything.
that's
going.
what it is. It's all around you. It's. I mean, people. I've talked to people like I've never been to Nashville. People say it's very similar to Nashville. Like you can walk down the street and there's music playing on either side. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of music and New Orleans. I mean, it's all everything goes. I mean, it's like everybody's having a great. It's like being mini Vegas. You know what I mean? You're walking. It was an amazing time. And I told the wife, I said, you know what? At some point, we gotta get back there. And hopefully, when this Corona thing ends and we get past this, and I'd love to go back, dude. I would love to go back, and I would in a heartbeat. I would love to go back there. I would. But you're right. Dude,
yeah. Well, my kids are older. That's me and her. We plan on going to take a cruise to Alaska.
Nice. Yeah, the wife wants to do that too.
You know, I want to go see that. That's nice.
How many years you been married, Joe? How many years?
So 2009, 11 years.
Wow, 11 years. I was at your wedding, bro.
I know you were.
I was at your wedding.
Yep.
Imagine
I was looking at the video. I was like, wow, look at how young.
How young we were, right? We were so young, man. Yeah.
We were all young there. Yeah.
Wow. Good times, brother. Good times. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And here we are, brother. Here we are.
Now my life goals. Everybody's got a bucket list.
Yeah.
You know, my bucket list is always to walk my daughter down the aisle. You know, watch my son get married.
Yep.
And then have grandkids.
Yep.
And then that's the things I want to do. Go to Alaska.
See the world, right?
Go stay a week in Atlantis.
Yep.
That's what I want to enjoy. You know what I'm saying? Because that's my biggest thing.
Dude, that's the pot of gold.
I just want to see my
kids the pot of gold.
Up.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, be there for those special moments. You know what I mean? Just go through the generation and just be there for them. And I want the same for my kids. And I think, again, and I think that's why, you and I, Steve, we come on, these podcasts, these conversations are so important because that's what we're looking at, man. I'm not looking at my future. I'm looking at the future of my kids. If my kids can be successful and they can move on, then that means I can be successful and I can move on. And really, it all comes down to the quality of life. You know what I mean? What you put in is what you get out of it, right?
My kids can grow up having a better life than I did.
Yeah, man. Isn't that the dream? Isn't that what we all want?
And then, you know what? As a parent, I succeeded.
You win.
I'm good.
You win. You win. You win.
And that should be any parent's goal.
You know what, Joe? I'll be honest with you, and I'm not to air your dirty laundry, brother, but, I've seen you Dance Revolution, and anybody who can do Dance Revolution like you, brother, is a success in the parent department. That's as far.
Hey, listen, my kids.
Telling you, man, you got it.
I just got back. I just went back to work from pulling my back.
Yeah.
And, my kids, they all love to dance. So they'd be playing music and I'm just laying down on the couch. I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, get up. You feel the beat and you're like, I just want to get up and get up with them. And I can't because my back is hurting. Or if I did get up, and I don't know if my wife recorded it or not, but hopefully she doesn't.
You'll have to post it
or anything.
Dude, you have to post it. You have to post it. You got to.
She's got me. I believe she's got me up, and I'm literally hunched over, looking like a 99-year-old guy with a walker. I don't have a walker, but I'm just hunched over like that because I can't move my back. Damn. And I'm just sitting there kind of just going up and down, like going with the kids and stuff. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, ow, but I'm having a good time with the kids.
Right. And they see that,
you know
man.
What?
They see
my
that.
My back is going to heal, but my kids are always going to remember, hey, I was dancing with daddy. And even though his back was hurting, he still got up and danced.
I know I'm going to remember it for sure. Definitely. Without question. Awesome, dude. You know what, brother? And, with that said, Joe, I want to take a second to say thank you to, for you giving me the time, bro, being on the show. I know I appreciate it. I know the audience appreciates it. Man, just having your voice and your opinion is, to me, something that I value very, very much. And
I hate my voice.
Dude, you sound awesome. Dude, you have a radio voice. I just really appreciate that. You know what? It's one thing to have an opinion, and I'll say this and I'll say it again. It's one thing to have an opinion, and it's one thing to say it, but to come on a podcast and to share your voice and to share your opinion, I think it's something special. You care about mankind, you care about society. It's not about coming on here and just yelling and screaming about things. It's about saying, hey, man, I care about you, you care about me. If we care about each other, then we can make this work. But until
just a couple of guys with their opinions.
That's
all
it,
it
man,
is.
right? Having
just
conversation,
my opinion,
right?
Your opinion.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I'm wrong. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean you're the same thing.
Nope. It's we're talking, bro. And as long as we're talking, we can move forward. It's when we stop talking that things get really bad. You know what I mean? So, with that said, I just want to say thank you to you, Joe. Thank you to the audience. Thank you, everyone, for being here for the duration of the show, episode 41. Listen, if this isn't enough for you, go over to Instagram, right? Go over to Facebook. Go check out Twitter. Go check out TikTok. The content is there. Go check it out. I mean, I just posted the clip of Joe calling out Kamala Harris and that prediction and how that. Guys, listen, if you're not listening consistently throughout the show, then you're only missing out and you're only hurting yourself. Listen, I always tell you, if you want to enlighten your brain, you listen to the Bobby Kudo Show. So do that, and then when you're done doing that, go over and, of course, as always, without question, go support St. Jude's and, of course, the Shriners Children's Hospital. Those two organizations helping children, doing the best that they can. I always mention Shriners and, loveshriners.org, $19 a month. Again, these are children that are being cared for at no expense to them or their families. And if anybody,
that's awesome.
I'm telling you, man, if bro, if you got a sick kid, man, one thing, it's you're so concerned with your child, and to not have to worry about the finances behind that. These are just amazing organizations. But you know what? It's not free. Like, they can't, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't fall out of the sky. It comes from amazing people like you and I who are willing to just give a little something to help out somebody down the line. So do that. Get over there. And when you're done with that, shop. Go to Etsy. Go check it out. You see the new mug, Joe?
Get one of those. Mugs, man.
Dude, how badass
thing
is
looks
that?
Nice.
You like that with the matte black on top? I'm telling you, putting all this effort into designing these things because I just ordered mine. I couldn't wait. I ordered myself one. Because I got to have one. So I ordered one. Get over to Etsy. Go check out that mug. It's unbelievable, along with everything else. Sweatshirts, tank tops, hats, you name it, all there with the Bobby Kudo Show logo.
Great quality, too.
Right?
I got
Thank
one of
you,
your
Joe.
shirts.
Right? You got it, man. Right? Show your support for the show. Go over to the website, BobbyKudoShow.com. Of course, if you want to support the show, Anchor FM /The Bobby Kudo Show. And, of course, at Patreon, www.patreon.com/The Bobby Kudo Show. And show your support there as well, guys. Again, I always mention it helps, with the end cost of the show. This isn't free. I have website costs, server costs, and the idea of the quality of the show, and nobody wants to wait. So when we're done recording, I cut it up, I produce it, and then I publish it. And if we're not on a good server, you guys are waiting days for this to hit the ground. So, the fact that I pay for the server means when I drop it, you get it immediately. So again, any help, any support, and the reviews. And without the reviews, none of this matters. I need to know how you feel. We need to know how you feel. Give us a review. Tell me how much you enjoyed Joe's voice, right? Because, Joe, you got that calming, soothing voice. And I want people to talk about it. So go over, show your support at Apple Podcasts, because this all means you. This is you. This is your family. This is us. This is America. I need you to remember, and I need everyone to remember, that all roads lead here.